Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 66 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's. Wow, I can't even speak right now. Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth.
Oh
Colin, you're fucking me up, dude. I want to leave this all in.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
We're going to leave it all in. This is the way we roll at Last Stand Media. But welcome. Yes, this is Summon Sign, our weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I'm your host, as always, Brad Ellison. Joining me, you heard him sighing immediately, Colin Moriarty. Colin, good afternoon to you. Good morning to me.
Yeah.
Nice Konami shirt.
Thanks.
Lovely.
Yeah, I was saying before the show, this is one of like the 5 shirts in circulation right now since we do laundry enough where these are just the shirts at the top of the pile. So you're going to see a lot of this Konami shirt until at some point.
Yeah. Is that a custom-made one as well?
Oh, yeah, that's just custom. No doubt about it.
It's so funny, dude. You have like no official merch. It's all just custom-made.
Yeah, because I like these are the things, if companies were smart enough to sell cool merch, which they don't.
That's true.
I lamented many times on Sacred with Chris. It's like, why is band merch so bad? Why is gaming merch so bad? Why? It's like, this Konami shirt is better than 99% of the things Konami has ever sold.
That's true.
And all it is the old Konami logo. Like they don't know they just do that. They have to put fucking things on the sleeves. They have to put things on the back. You know, it's like, please leave me alone. Now, real quick before I move back to you, it's not my show. I'm trying to sit back. So I'm looking a little smallish and the headroom's too much because my back hurts so bad lately sitting at this desk that I really think a lot of it has to do with it's my right shoulder up here. So I'm thinking it has to do with me just keeping my hand on my mouse.
Yeah.
For hours at a time, thus keeping my arm. So I'm trying to just see.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
Lean back. Do you stretch?
Oh, God, no.
You should probably start stretching, man. If you're getting to the point where you're getting sore from your hand on a mouse, you need to start stretching.
Well, that's the whole, I mean, it's been going on. It's been going on for years. Like my back pain at this desk. Yeah. I think originally it was, this arm is screwed into my desk. And I unscrewed it and pulled it closer to me. And that kind of helped. But it's literally just my right shoulder, like my upper right shoulder. It hurts really bad after I sit here for a few hours, but then it just goes away. Like it's not permanent. And it's been going on for years, but it sucks, So I'm just trying to, I'm a fairly, and I know it's not portrayed well on the internet, but I'm actually a fairly athletic person and don't really get into random, like, oh, my back hurts from opening a jar of mayonnaise or something. Like that doesn't happen to me. So this is a very unique workplace situation. Maybe I'll go on workman's comp. I'll have to pay my own workman's comp. So it'll be like working nonetheless.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Try stretching.
I love, oh God, no. As a response to, do you stretch? You already work out, so it's confusing to me that like you don't stretch because stretching is infinitely easier.
Yeah, I don't stretch. And Mike has said the same thing to me. And I was like, when I was a goalie in hockey, which is a very pliable position, you have to be stretched. I used to be able to do almost a full split. Damn. Which is when I was a teenager, which is crazy. That required a lot of stretching, but I hated it. I would stretch for like a half an hour before games to become all pliable. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate it so much. And I never stretched again.
Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about doing the splits right now. You don't have to get that insane.
Dude, I tried to like just see like how far down I can get, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. We're too old for this now.
Yeah.
We're out of shape in that sense. Also, Chris, how are you, my friend? Nice Halo 3 sweatshirt as well.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm doing okay. Like I do feel this is one of those I don't do this anymore. I used to do it a lot more often, like way earlier in the show when we first started recording in person. But this is one of those days where I really did wake up like maybe 15 minutes before we started recording. I'm usually pretty good about getting up pretty early.
Yeah,
early-ish at least. But like today's one of those days I'm like I'm fresh off of a dream sequence,
Yeah, well, I slept like shit too. You heard me stumbling like Porky Pig right at the beginning, so we're all in the same boat together.
Yeah,
it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Colin's, I don't know, he's falling apart, sitting at his desk. You got a new chair though, too, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a Herman Miller. It's not made really much of a difference, but it's the third chair I purchased, but it's definitely way more comfortable than that shit gaming chair, just generally speaking.
Yeah.
But what we think it is I never even really took a picture of my setup, but I bought like I don't know why I bought such a nice desk. I bought like a really nice wooden desk that's like a corner desk, and it is impossible to move. First of all, it's in 3 parts and they're screwed together and shit like that. Like I had people deliver it and put it together, but we think it might be that the drawer at my legs is too low, and so I can't sit at the appropriate height or something like that. Because when I've worked at, I was in the corporate world for a long time. Like I never had, because there were people, I remember when I was at IGN, there was a movement and it happened where people were like, if you want a standing desk or you want this or you want that, we'll buy them and do that. And they went around and I was like, I don't want. And as I told the joke, I was like, I asked for jokingly a recliner.
Yeah.
I was like, what, your back hurts or you're not feeling well from sitting at a desk? What are you talking about? I've never heard of such a thing in my entire life. Well, here I am. I
know. Yeah. Dude, karma, I guess. You're probably making fun of someone at IGN, and now look at you.
Well, I probably was. Also, it could be that I've had my hand like on a mouse on a desk
for like 30 years.
For 30 years.
Yeah.
And that might just be one of those things.
That could be it, dude. Yeah.
Like my sister's an artist, just like Dagan. My sister Allie, she went to FIT for package design and all these kinds of things. She's a different sort of artist than Dagan, who's an animator, but both of her hands are fucked with arthritis, and she got like really serious work done on her left hand. She's right-handed, but she wanted to do on her left hand to try first, and it was so painful and so bad that she's like, I don't even want to do it again.
Damn.
But her hands are like, and so I'm like, these workplace incidences happen, I guess. But God bless.
God bless everyone
with back pain, because it sucks.
Right. Yeah. Yes. All right, everybody. Before we get into what we're talking about, all that kind of stuff, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia if you'd like to support us. You can get early access to this show as well as all of our other shows, including Sacred Civils, which these two boys are a part of. #1 PlayStation podcast in the world. I love that. I love playing that up. It feels good to say. #1 in the world. You don't get to say that very often.
No, and Podcast Beyond which is 2 PlayStation podcasts ago for me, is still going with.
What?
And they're sometimes like in the mix, and I'm like, we're on like the 28th host of the show or something. Maybe it's
damn.
Time. I don't even, literally, I'm not even being dick. I don't even know who these people are. Like, there's not one single person that has any connection to even the people that did the show in my generation. So I'm like, well, must be nice to stand on the shoulders of giants, huh?
That's so fucking ridiculous. It's like it is kind of like late night, almost like a late night show, but like to the extreme, right? To the point where it's just like, man, it's almost like a dynasty. It's like passed off from person to person, except like it's like 42 people removed now.
Yeah, we're like the Bourbon family in France or something. Like it's cool that it still goes. I would just feel like, I've said before, I wasn't even an original member of Podcast Beyond.
Right. Yeah.
So like that's how like detached from reality we are at this point. And you go and look at the positive reviews, and a lot of them are about me and Greg. That was 10 years ago. Yeah. It's time to reset the RSS feeds.
Yeah.
And relinquish. Don't be standing on my shoulders. Don't be standing on my. Chris and I had no one to stand on.
That's right.
That's true.
You didn't know
we're the biggest PlayStation podcast in the world right now until some dude in China.
You're right.
Starts one.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah. Then it's kaput.
One. Yeah, that's right. Then we'll be the biggest PlayStation podcast in the West. The biggest English language PlayStation podcast.
There's always a way to go. Dude, that is weird. I never really thought about Podcast Beyond still going. That is weird because, like, I don't know. As someone who listened to it, it seems weird because that show was so much about personality. I guess like that's what a lot of good podcasts are about. It's not even about the name of the show. It's about the people there. So it's just, I don't know. They should have called it something different.
There were, in my opinion, 5 names that like were in vital to Beyond. And when they were all gone, it was no more. It would be like Roper, who was like the original host.
Yeah.
And works at PlayStation now. Greg, obviously, me, Clements, and Goldfarb.
Goldfarb, yeah. Wow.
And when none of those people were involved in the show anymore, that was the end. In fact, when I left, I tried to hand it off to Vincent Gennito, and that was like, which I think would have been a great choice for it. But they weren't having it. I don't think. I think it went to Max Scoville, and they still do that thing, which is cool. But where it's like we do it an hour show, and all right, got to wrap up. I'm like, it's a podcast.
Yeah,
we used to do that too, and it used to piss me off. I'm like, why don't we dedicate an entire day to this? But it's because they unbelievably didn't know how to monetize it at the time.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah, you're right.
And that show during its peak was way bigger than Sacred Symbols has ever been. That's what annoys me the most. Like we were getting like 1 million downloads a month.
Wow, you know? That's crazy. That's insane.
And it's like we don't know what to do. Got to write your reviews. Like, all right,
yeah, got to write your Tales of Exilia 2
Don't spend too much
review.
Time on the media.
Yeah,
it's like okay,
so insane.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Okay,
man, things have changed.
Indeed.
All right, guys. Right in here from Twiddlesticks. Greetings, Mordecai, Benson, and Plankton. So Mordecai's me. Micah has said, Colin, you are Benson from regular show. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't.
He's a gumball machine, and he's kind of the boss, and he gets angry a lot. And, of course, everyone knows who Plankton is. That's Chris, obviously.
Obviously.
Are these all from the same show?
No.
Plankton
is not. He's from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
He's great, though. I love Plankton. He's such an awesome character. Jokes aside, I got a warm up for y'all. Colin, can you lighten Brad and Chris on the mythical dank Yarnum Nugs? And where can a brother get one? Cheerio, mates.
Where can you get one nug?
One dank.
I can tell you're not a
smoker
of marijuana. Well, I guess you don't want one nug. You want 3.5 grams.
You want all the nugs.
7 grams.
Yeah.
Dank Yarnum Nugs is a reference to, obviously Yarnum is the location of Bloodborne. And I think it comes from when Nick Scarpino and I made a really terrible character in Bloodborne, which we did a series with called Galvatron. And it was like the ugliest character we could possibly imagine. And I think we said something about how he smokes like the dank Yarnum Nugs. For some reason, it's one of those things where I'm like, this wasn't that funny, but it's one of the things that people have really held on to.
It's always stuff like that people hold on to and remember. And you're like, really? That's what caught on? It's like, okay.
Yeah, like there are funny things where I'm like, I understand why you think this is funny. The PSN outage podcast Beyond is probably the most famous podcast I've ever done.
Yes, that is.
And that's sad because it's 14 years old and I'll probably never do anything that anyone cares about anywhere near remotely as much as that podcast.
Is that the what one?
Yeah, what? When we did all the call-ins, it was so funny, dude. That episode was ridiculously funny. It was also recorded like on Saturday night and we were really drunk.
Nice.
So that was a really and it was a really, that's like a seminal episode. This dank Yarnum Nug thing, I'm like, I feel like that was just a throwaway line, but maybe not, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember anything anymore. So
those things stick. It's never the things you think are going to stick around. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's never the things that you like, oh, that was. When I think about the shows that we record, I think about like, oh, that's probably going to be clipped because that's a good. It's never that one. It's always something that I didn't even remotely think of. It's like, oh, all right. I guess that one hit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird people tell you that kind of stuff. Oh, I love this moment. You're like, I don't even remember that really.
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about? So many people have quoted me to myself, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. Dude, like, you said that. Or worse is when they say something, or they repeat a joke that I said, and then I don't remember that I said it, and I laugh. I was like, that's really funny.
Yeah, like you
said.
They're
like, well, you said it, and then I'm like, oh well. now I look like a piece of shit.
It's weird because Chris, I feel like I get caught in the Chris Raygun crossfire so often with just write-ins from people with like their names and shit like that. I'm like, these are 100% Snark Tank fans. 100%. I'm getting strays all the time.
Yeah, you're the fallout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's always hell. Dude, I love it because one of them, there was one name that was like, oh man, I can't remember. It was something about Jared Fogle and Baby Hitler. But then they wrote in to our show. They're like, "Hey guys, so I wrote into like a book club podcast, and I forgot to change my name.
Yeah,
and they banned me, or something like that.
That's awesome.
It's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, that's cool shit.
But it's
the audience is funny.
Yeah, I often see this guy. His name is Chris wearing a Green Goblin mask while banging ladies or something like that.
Great. Love it.
I'm like, I always know this guy.
Great.
That's your fan base, Chris. You've done this.
I know. I mean, If you can, the fact that people pay as much money as they do to just
Yeah.
make me say things at the end of the show is pretty insane to me. But like, I mean,
Yeah.
like we're on like 5 pages now of like people
That's
who
crazy,
like,
dude.
who are on that like
Damn.
highest tier who just pay just to hear me say horrible shit. So it's like, all right,
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Should steal that.
you don't want to do that.
No, I don't. We don't need to do that.
Colin want to kill himself doing that probably after a week. All right, boys. So today is Monday. We're filming this on a Monday. Wednesday, though, Switch 2. It's finally time. We know it, but now we're going to finally see everything, hopefully. I don't know. It's Nintendo, so you never know. I just want some quick predictions from you guys. What do you think? By the time most people see this, it'll already be out, but I just want to know what you guys think, what we're going to see. Colin, let's start with you.
Massive disappointment. No,
Probably.
well, I feel like that's not what I think, but I was surprised by how flat the reception was to the Switch 2 kind of like meta reveal of like, yes, we're doing this. This is kind of what it is. And everyone was like, oh, like I was like, what did you think it was going to be? Like, of course they're going to do. They should have called it the Super Switch. I'll stand by that. I think that would have been fucking awesome. I wonder if that was under consideration. You will never know, but I wonder I wonder if that was one of the names they considered. What do I think? I think it's going to sell. I don't think this machine will ultimately be on the same trajectory in 5 years as the Switch 1, but I think it's a safe 100 million seller that's going to be very compelling to an expansive and perhaps bigger than ever core Nintendo fan base that is buying games at a velocity that has never been seen before. I come from the first wave of Nintendo fans, basically, and maybe you'd call Dagan the first wave of Nintendo fans, and I guess I would be maybe the second wave because I was a little younger, but I was there from the beginning. And if a game sold 1, 2, 3 million copies, that was considered a huge hit. In fact, Dagan and I reflected, like Mega Man 2, for instance, I think sold like 1.5 million copies. Like, can you? And that game is considered universal, and everyone has played it because you rented it and you did all these kinds of things. But what you're seeing with the way the money is churning out for Nintendo is an exceptional echelon above that, like orders of magnitude. And there's no reason to expect that they can't do it again. The only thing that I think I've said this before, this will be an NES to SNES type era, I think, which was like NES 62 million, I think SNES like 50 million, which is incredible. It's weird. You guys were, I don't know why you were buying Genesis instead of SNES. You're out of your fucking mind. I'll never let that one go. The
fart machine.
But so I think it'll be something like that. But it's important to note that those were the only Nintendo has never turned over a generation successfully except for those generations. And so is there reason to be skeptical? I guess it just seems like when you go from 65 million, 62, I think, million NESs to like 50 million SNESs to like 32 million N64s. But the baseline's so different because now you're going from like 150, 160 million Switches. Even if you cut that number in half, 75 million.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, so all told, I'm saying so, but I think it definitely has the potential to be higher than that. I think price is going to be a determinant. I think also like the true power of the machine is going to be somewhat important. When you see a game like, obviously they're going to sell a fucking 10 million copies of Mario Kart and all these kinds of things, which is great. But when you see a game like Hogwarts Legacy sell 35 million copies or whatever it is at now, it's like, it's actually quite important that you're in these places. Yeah. And like it not running Grand Theft Auto, which it's obviously not going to have, is going to be a big deal for it.
Right.
But I don't think it will really matter because it's such a first party machine. If you look at the Circana data every month, it's all Nintendo games. So I'm optimistic. I think it'll be an NES to SNES style thing. I think that's why I think even calling it Super Switch would have been really cool and kind of summoning that, pardon the pun, summoning that spirit of 1990, 1991. And I know Mike is excited about it, and I'm excited. I'm just interested to see. I mean, Nintendo. I wasn't a believer in Switch at all because the Wii U was so bad. Right. And I bought a Switch at launch. I had it. I gave it away, as everyone knows. But so I'm not trying to be a hater. I think they got this one. I think they'll be good. Big thing is like, will Xbox games be there? Because that's the thing I've been wondering about. People have been talking specifically about Halo.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, that will be weird. And Mike and I were doing, Chris does the voice better, so I'll let him do it if he wants, but like join Master Chief and Cortana on an adventure around Halo.
Yeah. The direct voice. Yeah.
343 Guilty Spark is at it again. Like.
That's so on point. That's pretty good, actually.
Oh, thank
You
you.
did a good job. I don't think I could do it right now, actually. My nose is a little stuffy. Allergies.
Yeah, so I'm like, I hope because like with the Horizon one was so funny to me. It's like Aloy and all of her friends. It's like, holy shit.
My favorite one is the hypothetical Last of Us, where it's like, carry your dead daughter through a nightmarish zombie apocalypse in The Last of Us. Oh man. I always love the dissonance between the cheeriness and like some of the games that they talk about. It's awesome.
Yeah. I was looking at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sales.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take a guess, Colin?
45 million, something like that.
Chris, any guesses?
Wait, what, I'm sorry. What happened?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the Switch one. How many sales?
What about it?
Yes.
How much will it sell?
No, how much did it sell?
How
on
much did it
Switch?
sell? That's the one that's out.
Oh my God, I can't even.
That's right. We'll get there.
Like 25 million?
All right. You guys are used to PlayStation numbers.
Fuck.
This is 67 million.
Jesus Christ.
That's a 1 in 2. That's an attach rate of 1 in 2.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
For a game that's not bundled in.
And Mario Kart's going to probably be a launch game for Switch too. So
yeah, they showed that, right? Like an actual screenshot
Yeah.
of it, right?
Yeah,
or
they
maybe
showed
a video
a tiny
of it. I don't know.
bit. Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, I just think that I'm pretty sure that the PS4 has actually sold more games than Switch.
Sure. Yeah, I believe it.
But Nintendo does so much better because they get all of the money because it's their games for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I'm sure we'll buy one. It's like the same thing with the new next Xbox. We'll definitely buy one because Mike is into that stuff, So.
Oh yeah, Michael will for sure get one.
And maybe I'll play Metroid Prime. I don't know.
You got to play Metroid Prime, Colin. Come on, man. You got to play. It's been so long since 3.
That's what I was saying. Is I was a Nintendo fan when 3 came out. That's how long
little Wii days.
It's actually been. Was like I was still playing on Nintendo hardware, not primarily really anymore at that point. It was they were kind of losing me then. It was Twilight Princess that really where I was like I can't do this anymore.
Oh come on, man.
And then I started, and then I was like, and then it's on and on and on, and then some things grabbed me, right? Like it was like, oh, come back, Colin, like Zack and Wiki.
Oh, so good.
I've talked before. Endless Ocean was one of those games where I was like, I really love this game. It was so unique and interesting, and different.
It sure is.
But then I played Crossbow Training, and then I played all of that. I'm like, no, I got to go.
Yeah. You didn't like Twilight Princess, man? Come on, dude.
No, didn't want to catch the goat.
It's one of the best Zeldas. That's like the first 10 minutes of the game, dude. Jesus.
Those first impressions matter.
They sure do.
It
does have a slow intro. I'll give you that.
I do think they didn't call it the Super Switch because they're afraid to name anything unclearly.
Yeah, they're super gun shy.
After the Wii U, they're like, we were being cute with the Wii U, and you hated us, so we're not going to be cute no more. Mm-hmm. It's the Switch 2.
Keep it simple, stupid.
You know exactly what it is. I think they're just like they're gun shy in the same way. It's a very Japanese company thing in some sense, because like PlayStation's also kind of the same way. Like anytime something doesn't work, they're like, all right, we're not going to touch this idea again for 10 years. Whereas Xbox is like, oh, we named the Xbox One horribly. Let's do it again. Like, no shot. If like Xbox was like a Japanese company, they come up with the Xbox One, and then the next console is called the Xbox Series. Yeah. Like they'd be so much more cautious.
Indeed.
Yeah. I don't know. Any predictions, Chris? What do you think we'll see there?
I mean, Colin kind of went over it. I'm kind of manifesting it mainly. Because I just think it would be so interesting and novel, but I really would love to see the Master Chief Collection on Switch in some way, if for no other reason than to just like give that game another shot in the arm. There's like somehow there's a lot of people still playing it, which is kind of surprising. Like because I jumped back in for the first time in like I think like a year and a half, and I was getting like 16-player lobbies of like completely new people pretty regularly. I was like, oh wow, this is kind of wild. So like that finding its way onto Switch and in all likelihood by extension PlayStation would be like really exciting.
Yeah,
and I do think
hope it comes out.
Yeah, and I also think they would be kind of foolish as as that brand, which Halo is like I don't say in the gutter, but they're definitely nowhere near where they were. Like, to miss the opportunity to be there for the launch of a Nintendo console and potentially get millions of people interested in your IP, like, I don't know how you lose, really. Especially because they're already kind of in this multi-platform space where they don't really seem to care about the kind of things that we used to care about back in the day. So, like, I really don't see a negative to putting this thing on Switch at all. And so I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to hope for it.
I like that. That's good energy.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
It's good shit. Yeah, and I can't wait. I hope it happens, Chris. And I can't wait to see comments on Twitter of people being like, "Oh man, it's gonna be so easy to take out the Switch babies now."
Oh yeah, it's
gonna Halo. It's like you guys are playing with everyone's playing. You guys are playing the controller. Relax.
Yeah,
you're all using controllers for an FPS. Relax. Calm down.
It'll
you're not
be
playing
Counter
Strike.
No, Counter Strike. Although there is that. I don't know if it's rumored or confirmed or whatever, but it seems to be implied by that the trailer that they had, or like the pseudo teaser or whatever they had, that like there's like mouse support.
Yeah, there's mouse. Yeah.
Is that like official, like confirmed?
It's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of because
it's gonna be weird.
That caught my eye because I was like, that's kind of sick, actually.
Just bring back Mario Paint then, if you do that.
Mario Paint. Oh man.
Yeah, more horror games. More horror games on Switch as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Embody the infinite hatred of a mad machine. And I have no mouth and I must scream. Coming to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. They sometimes try to play it up a little bit, but they stir a little too cheery about everything. A little too much.
Oscar Schindler's at it again.
Yeah.
Before you move on, this is totally a non sequitur, but I just needed to share this with you, is that I just got an email from Domino's Pizza. This email pisses me the fuck off.
Okay.
Because it says, your points are about to expire on 4/7/25. And then it says, like, there's more. It's like, all right, so this is what you can get for your different points. Like 20 points, free dip cup, 16-piece Parmesan bread bites, or 20-ounce drink. And then 40 points is like bread twist, 60 points is a pizza. It's like your 10 points are about to expire. So I can't buy even a dip cup. And you're reminding me about my pizza points?
Damn,
it's an insult.
Dude. They're calling you out. Yeah, they're making fun of you.
Is there a way to unsubscribe?
Yeah, there's got to be.
There isn't.
There's got to be, dude.
Yep.
It's like, we're sending you this because members may not unsubscribe from these emails. Members can opt out of other communication by visiting. Why not?
You're locked in, man.
That sucks. This is why I hate email. This is exactly what you're experiencing right now is exactly why I loathe email.
Yeah.
You have no option. You have to kind of like individually block accounts.
Right. If you're fastidious as it happens, like my email is incredibly clean because like I don't allow any nonsense except for apparently from Domino's, who I literally cannot unsubscribe from, apparently, according to them. But like I'll always like report spam or like if there's an unsubscribe link, because I remember people back in the day used to be like, oh, don't do that. It shows them that the email is active. I'm like, I've been doing this for 25 years. It literally just stops me from getting emails from them. I don't know what. So you're scared of unsubscribing?
I could see that being a conspiracy theory, like kind of like almost like an old wives' tale back in the day. But
yeah, and it might have been true in like 1999 or something, but
sure,
not anymore. Yeah. Anyway, I just needed to share that with someone before you move on.
No. Yeah, that's interesting. Domino's Pizza, man. I haven't had Domino's in so long. Don't like them. Yeah,
they're all right. Sometimes we're in the mood for shitty pizza.
Sure.
And we vacillate between Domino's and Papa John's, and we've been going with Papa John's more, to be honest. Sure. But we really don't order in very much. We go out. We order pizza or like Chipotle like once a month or something.
Yeah, Mike is always cooking something.
Yeah.
She loves cooking.
She's made me so lazy, dude. I love cooking. I'm a pretty good cook, but I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Bet she's great, dude.
Oh, she's awesome.
She loves barbecuing. Yeah, I love talking to her about it on Punching Up. She gets so pumped up.
Oh yeah, and this is the season now. So she's like really into it.
She's ready to grill.
Yeah, she is ready. And she has been.
All right, well, we'll see what Nintendo has coming up. I'm excited. Chris, you're going to buy one, right? Probably?
I don't know. I have a Switch, and I haven't touched it in 4 years.
Damn.
It feels like it probably isn't that long. Like last time I played, I think it was Tears of the Kingdom, which I really which I really enjoyed. But the thing before that was Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey.
So it's a Zelda machine for you, pretty much.
So it's a Zelda machine for me. and even both of those games, I was like, I spent like dozens and dozens of hours in, and I was just like, I'm not gonna finish this.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool, but like I got so much else to do, and I'm tired of running around this. I almost resent the fact that I played Breath of the Wild at all, because I feel like I would have enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom more, because so much of it is like the same level. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe somewhere down the line, or if I see something that is compelling. But like as of right now, I'm kind of I'm in a like I don't really need a Switch.
Yeah, you are a handheld enthusiast, so
yeah,
we'll see if they got anything for you.
Yeah, maybe it's possible.
We'll see. All right, guys. We'll just start off first with what I've been playing. I've been playing the First Berserker Khazan. I've been playing a lot of this game. I think I've played like 30 hours, close to that right now. So just for anyone that doesn't know, this is a spin-off of the Dungeon Fighter series, which is big in Korea, or I think that's where it started. But then later on, we had the DNF dual fighting game that Arc System Works made for them. So they're no stranger to spin-off games. But this is I guess technically Souls-like. It's way more Neo than From Software, though. It's way more Neo compared to that. And what I mean by that is it's not open world. It's not like big interconnected zones. It's like stages. Like, Colin, have you ever played Neo?
Yeah,
did you ever try it?
Yeah, I tried playing it twice, and I got the second time maybe 10 or 15 hours in.
Okay. Yeah, it feels very much like that. It has a ton of loot, like Neo as well, which I'm not a fan of. I don't really like that kind of stuff in games where they're... If anyone doesn't know that, it's like, think of like an ARPG or like PoE, like Path of Exile or Diablo, where you kill someone and like loot drops, or a bunch of like loot drops. It's not as egregious as I think as Neo was, but there's still quite a bit. And I know that's part of the fun. A lot of people like this and stuff in games, the set, like grinding sets off bosses and stuff like that, making such, which is cool. I totally understand that. It's just not really what I like in these type of games. But I will say the combat in this game is very good. Very good. Some of the best Souls-like combat I felt in a long time. Of course, not From Software. You're not From Software. No one ever is. But they are high up there. Like, I think of... I really like Stellar Blade's combat a lot. This isn't exactly the same, but like that same feeling of, like, this feels really good. And one thing about that is really good parries, man. Like, if you like that kind of stuff in Stellar Blade, you're kind of new to the series, or like Sekiro. Everyone borrowed that from Sekiro, but that's here as well. So the story is just pretty basic. I don't know like a ton of what's going on. You are this character Khazan. He gets kind of framed by the Emperor and punished, essentially. He's like punished snake now. And you make a pact with this demon thing. Great voice acting in the game also, though. Really high profile people in it. Ben Starr is the main character, who was Clive in Final Fantasy 16. The guy that played Dion in Final Fantasy 16 is in the game. Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3 is in the game.
Oh, cool.
I'm like kind of surprised. I was like, wow, there's a lot of like great voice actors in this little Souls-like game out of Korea.
She in particular is exploding.
Yeah,
like because she's also in that oh my god.
Yeah, that new game coming out. I know what you're talking about, that action game. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but it looks sick.
No.
But yeah, man. This game is extremely difficult as well. Some of the hardest bosses I've fought in a very long time. Now, let me say that let me just explain that. There's a difficulty in the game. There's normal and easy. I'm playing on normal. But there is easy if you want that as well. But I like something about this game. Let's say what the difficulties. But the bosses are brutal. Brutal. You can die very fast. They can be pretty long, maybe a little too long right now. And it looks like they're kind of tweaking bosses a lot. I've seen they already tweaked a couple. They nerfed one. They buffed a couple other ones already. They nerfed the third boss, I guess, in the game because so many people got stuck on him for so long. Someone I knew said it took them days to beat this boss. So
sounds fun.
It was pretty fun, actually. It was really fun. It was fun.
The glare.
I liked that boss. It was cool. But it's a brutal ass game, but there are things to help you, like I said, difficulty. But you could also summon some spirit, like a spirit. You think Elden Ring or like Dark Souls, stuff like that, you could summon a spirit to help fight with you before a boss. So if you're having trouble, you can bump down the difficulty and do that. I'm not doing it because they're doing something I really like in games, which I wish more games did, is they have trophies tied to it. In the sense that if you bump the difficulty down, you won't get a certain trophy. If you use a summon in a boss fight, you won't get a certain trophy. So it gives you incentive. Yeah. And of course, I like stuff like that. So it kind of rewards you for playing.
Well, games like this should have difficult trophy lists.
Yeah.
A trophy list should somewhat be commensurate to the nature of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. So like I think, Colin, you can get the platinum in one playthrough if you do it like optimally, like playing the hardest difficulty, no summons. But I think if you want to do 2 runs, you could bump down the difficulty and like split these kind of things up. So it is manageable, but you'll just save some time, maybe.
Yeah.
It just depends how long you get stuck on some bosses.
For optimization enjoyers.
Yeah, exactly.
I know many such people.
I'm optimization enjoying right now.
Yeah.
But it is a very challenging game. Like, I mean, it depends. Like these games, the difficulty in these games depends how for each person. Like, I don't think I've spent more than a couple hours on a boss or something like that. But I die like 30 times, 40 times, maybe. It seems like I die a fuck ton.
That's crazy.
But
that would drive me nuts.
But you know, the thing I like about it, Colin, is it's kind of this thing of, it's like a upward hill of progression. You like see little bits of improvement each time, learning enemies patterns
I get that.
and all that kind of stuff.
And it's funny because you bring up Neo. Chris wouldn't remember. We've recorded so many fucking episodes, but there was a time when I right when I moved to Virginia where I'm like, I'm going to try Neo again. And I did. And I got that like vibe from it because the first time I played it, I couldn't even get past the boss in the boat in the beginning. I was like, this is so hard.
Right,
like, what are you supposed
Neo's
to do?
Neo's
Like,
a hard ass game.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I got a few more bosses deep. And then I remember I got to this boss where it's like a worm or something, like a snake going all around a room in like a cavern. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is insane. You know?
Yeah.
But I totally get it. Like, I understand that must be the great part of these games is like, I did it.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Yeah,
I get
it's
it.
really fun seeing that progress. But it's a little easier to get into than Neo, I would say. Neo is a little more overwhelming with the amount of systems it has, and like stat allocation is a little more confusing, and like where you want to put things, and because you get like ninjutsu and like magic and all this kind of stuff. You don't really have to worry about any of that in this. There's only 3 weapon types, and they make it pretty clear with what you want to use. There's a great sword, which I'm using, which is really fun. There's like a axe and sword, like a one-handers for each. He's like, like a berserker warrior or something like that. Then there's like a spear build also. And it's like, hey, if you want to use the great sword, you should probably do strength. So it's all pretty simple like that. So I do enjoy that. And you can reset things anytime. So you don't have to worry about spending points or stress out about that kind of stuff. So that's really fun. There's a skill tree also. And I love this about this game. Unlike other games, like I didn't even play Shadow, so I'm not picking on it, but I'm talking about past Assassin's Creed games where I'm like, the skill tree fucking sucks. It's like, okay, here's 2% more damage on this thing. That's the point I did. Your charged attack does 2% more damage. Like, that's fucking boring.
Yeah.
This thing, the skill tree here, like dramatically changes gameplay and how you play things. Like being able to string together combos is so important, and when you get that one skill in something, it could change your playstyle completely in the flow of combat. It's so nice. Like, I love that feeling of I'm very far in this game and I'm still like, man, I'm like thinking, I'm like looking at my skill tree, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to that skill finally. And that's something I don't get in many games. By this time in most games, you're just getting bullshit, boring stats. So I'm very happy about that. Going through skill tree is awesome. And I just got to reiterate how good the combat feels. It's super tight. It's super responsive.
Yeah, I'm watching a bunch of it right now.
Yeah, it feels really good to fight guys. It feels very fair in combat. Like, the bosses are fucking nuts. Some of these bosses in this game are absolutely crazy. I think some of them maybe have just a little too much health, but I am also wondering if like I'm just not playing optimally or something like that. I'm not fucking up my build or something like that because I'm just kind of learning as I go, which is totally like how I like to do it. So it's fine. But I am just curious about balancing over time because sometimes I'm like, I've been fighting this guy for a long time, it feels like. But the fights are all really cool. There's a lot of optional levels to do.
Who's this fight with the guy with the casket on his back? That's pretty fucking cool. It's in the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know if I've fought that guy yet.
I'm sorry to spoil
I'm like,
it for
no, it's okay. No, it's totally fine. I'm like a little over halfway through, I think.
He's pretty
I think
cool.
this is a pretty long game.
Yeah, it's cool. I was gonna say, like, I wonder if you see this blonde character? This is the protagonist, I guess.
Khazan.
Yeah, he looks like a Belmont.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does look like a Belmont.
Like he's got the leather skirt with like the furs around him and stuff like that. Like very much like Castlevania, but only only him. Nothing else about the game. And I didn't know it was cell shaded. It's pretty.
Yeah, it looks really nice. It runs really well. I'm playing on PS5. It's been good so far. I don't know about like pro enhancements. I'm not really sure. I haven't like seen anything crazy like 120 frame or hertz or anything like that. But it's been performing solidly. I crashed one time, I think, in 30 hours. So it's been pretty reliable for a new game. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I definitely want to finish it. I don't know. I'm waiting to the point where I get stuck on a boss for like 2 days and I'm going to have to like bump it down just to get through the game. But
Yeah.
so far, right now, everything's great. I'm having a really good time. Combat is super fun. I think if you enjoy games, like even action games like Devil May Cry, it's not crazy in the sense of like, you know, you're juggling combos, but you're stringing together moves and being very deliberate about your kind of stuff. And it's very satisfying when you land a really sick combo off on a boss and you get huge damage chunks. It's really great. So yeah, I really like it, but if someone's like, oh, I'm new to Souls likes or whatever, no.
No.
Stay far away. No. You're going to have a bad time. I don't recommend it. Because the level design's whatever. It's not like amazing. It's not Elden Ring or anything like that or From Software where I'm like blown away at the level design. You know, it's not like Chris going down the elevator in Elden Ring that first time. That huge underground city. You're like, holy shit.
That really
Nothing
was
even close to that.
That game is really full of genuine, like, wow. Like, I'm not even really like a FromSoft glazer in that way, but like, I can't even remember. I think it was like literally maybe Zelda, like one of the older, or maybe Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where I was like, whoa, this is kind of impressive.
Yeah, man. Let's see here. We got some write-ins about this. This is from Hood. Hello, Summon Seinfelds. What's the deal with Khazan? Oh, he's supposed to do the Seinfeld voice. What's the deal with Khazan?
What's the deal with the First Berserker?
You said Berserker exactly how you would have said it. That was perfect.
I can't imagine that Jerry Seinfeld has ever said the word Berserker in his life.
He's like, what's your favorite Final Fantasy V class?
Berserker. Yeah. As a non-fan of Souls-like games, having only played through Elden Ring and Stellar Blade, if you count that, I've been interested but kind of dismissive of Khazan. Souls games are a dime a dozen, and I never feel compelled to play them. Not knowing what the difficulty will be like, it would suck to buy a game and leave it unfinished due to skill issues. Also, while enjoying combat and worlds of some Souls games, I find that I get very tense navigating the world between bonfires when I want to relax while playing a game. But they got me this time. By providing a demo, I was able to try the difficulty for myself and didn't find it too hard. Beating the first boss in a couple of tries, I was surprised when I was then offered the option to change the difficulty to easy. I finished the rest of the demo on normal, but it was good to know that if I hit a roadblock, that was an option to fall back to if needed. Finally got the game after the demo and have been enjoying it now on easy difficulty, which is by no means easy. You still have to engage with amazing combat, parry, and upgrade your skills. Very rewarding and fun stuff. But the game is more forgiving. You could take a few more hits and do more damage, make the difficulty more like a Stellar Blade or God of War. So I can explore with less stress, but still lock in for a boss. Best of both worlds. So if you're like me and kind of afraid of trying it due to its Souls-like nature, give the demo a go. The game is awesome with badass cutscenes, cool world, and especially very fun combat, with every upgrade in the skill tree feeling meaningful. XOXO. Looking forward to the KCD2 spoiler cast. Bye. Yeah, we're going to do that, by the way. We're waiting for Locke to finish it, which is very close, and we're keeping tabs on COG, because we want COG on there as well. But me and Micah are ready.
Yeah, Micah's been ready. I mean...
Yeah, she beat it first.
She fucking...
Yeah,
she raw dogged that game, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, she went hard.
Yeah.
One thing that this write-in reminded me of, in the sense of this game being accessible, and I wonder if they'll do this in future like Souls-like games. Like I wouldn't be mad if From Software took this idea. Is when you fight a boss, let's say, and you're stuck on them, you will still get some experience in Souls, even if you die from them. You'll still get progress to getting a new skill point. So you still make some progression, even if you're at a roadblock the whole time. So you don't necessarily have to be like, okay, well, now I got to go somewhere else and grind or something like that to boost up my stats. You can still just grind the boss and level up your character kind of at the same time. Maybe not the most efficient, but you still get some from doing it. And I've definitely noticed it. Like, hey, I got a couple skill points fighting this boss, and it really helped me get through it. So that's a cool idea that I wonder if they'll incorporate in future games. I would like to see it.
Yeah.
All right. It's from Eric Rob. Hey, Summoners, my question centers around the first Berserker of Khazan. Why do players get so worked up over balancing patches? And how does the crew on today's episode feel about games pre and post patch for difficulty? To fill everyone in, certain bosses have been nerfed and others buffed. This was because the third boss, for example, had a dramatic drop off in players progressing past it. Having played some of both bosses, I can say that I noticed the difference. But that for a first time player would still find the level of difficulty appropriate. Thanks for all you do in making LSM the best independent media platform out there. Now, what do you guys think about this kind of thing? Devs tweaking bosses in games like this where people take difficulty very seriously in it. I would say it's like a big part of the game, actually. How do you feel about this? Colin, any thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I'll go first. So I'm of two minds because I think the best analogy I can think of, and I was thinking about this when you were talking, was people often make fun of Apple UI designers because they constantly change things for no reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's like, no, this is good. Like the way it is, like stop moving everything around. Windows does this too. I always use Paint. And I don't know if you noticed on like the new updates for Paint, it's like fucking, I just print screen a lot and just drop things, Control V into Paint and then just cut something out and put it in an email or whatever. And now it's like this whole thing where you have to like click all these. I'm like, dude, it was Microsoft Paint. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's been perfect for many years, for decades, actually. You don't have to fuck with it. Go make something else or go. And Apple UI designers are always doing the same thing where things are in different places and the fucking icons change. And now there's like a little bezel around the icon logo. And it's like, just go away. And I feel that way sometimes with games, but I actually feel that way specifically with multiplayer games. A really good example is what they did with Helldivers too. And Arrowhead seemed to have heavy Apple UI designer energy for a long time where it's like, oh, we got to change things. And it's like, no one is asking you to change anything.
Right.
Where's anyone asking you to change things? Stop fucking with things. Single player games though and by the way, multiplayer games, of course, if something is tragically broken or something like that, or really OP or something, obviously you want to mess around with those things, but that stuff is usually found in betas and stuff. This stuff's a little more interesting though in single player games because obviously you can there's a difference between playtesting and focus testing. And the playtesters are really the ones that are testing the game for it to work and how things are balanced. But really it should be focus testers that do that, because focus testers are being exposed to games for the first time and asked what they think. So really like people like that are the ones that should be giving plenty of data on like how a game is and how difficult it is and how hard it is to overcome, as opposed to the people that play it professionally, basically. Because I can tell you as someone who, owns a small indie studio, as you guys know, makes games a fraction as complicated as these other games. Like we master these games. And we've had the problem of Tribreaker is a good example. We did nerf Tribreaker after we launched it on two stages. People were like, this is impossible. And one of them, I was even like, this is really fucking hard. I did it. It was for to get the S ranks on these stages. And we're like, we got to change it. Like it's not fun. Yeah. It's fun to try something 5 or 10 times, maybe. I don't want someone putting the game down. And so I say all of this to present it as like, this is a sophisticated 3D game. They have incredible analytics coming out of it. And they might've really been seeing like people are shutting the game off after this.
Yeah. That's not good. Yeah.
Like and that's a really bad thing. And you want to nip that in the bud as soon as humanly possible. So actually with single player games, I find it a little less crazy. Are they scared and listening to like lowest common denominator level telemetry where it's like, well, the idea is it's supposed to be difficult and maybe it could be something about the game. And they're like, well, you got to thread that needle. Right. Even a Souls-like person, a Souls-like fan will find things that are too hard or too egregious for them, I assume. And if you don't want to beat that. So yeah, I would say that I understand the argument more sometimes than others, but I feel like this is probably a good thing and you just don't know what they were seeing. Mm-hmm. They don't want to. The last thing they want to do is fuck with the game, I would assume.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of a capitulation in some sense that we got it wrong. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I personally have no problem with it as well, Colin. Especially, it's like the third boss in the game. You don't want people falling off that early in the game. Like you want like the really tough fights like later in the game. I would say like the Melania. There's a reason Melania is like an optional boss at the very end of Elden Ring, pretty much, because she's insanely difficult. And the boss from the DLC at the end of the DLC was fucking insane when he came out. Holy moly. Like, that boss was like breaking people on the internet. It was insane. But you say those kind of things for the end of the game, was my opinion.
Right.
But I think you need to have challenge throughout the whole game, but it needs to be like a nice, steady climb. So
the hardest bosses should be
kind of-
optional in games like this, like in my opinion.
Absolutely.
God of War Ragnarok was actually a good example of this, where I did like all the Valkyrie stuff and all the rest, which are like as I remember, the hardest fights in the game. And then you go and fight the last boss, and I remember being like, this is comically easy.
Yeah.
But it should almost feel, maybe you want more balance than that, but it should almost be like that. It reminds me of all the like the weapons in Final Fantasy VII or something.
Yeah, it's
These
exactly
are really
what I was
hard
thinking.
fights.
Yeah, Emerald weapon and stuff. Yeah,
right. Like these are really fucking hard.
Yeah,
way harder than fighting Sephiroth.
Yeah,
but there's something fun about that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Super bosses should be the hardest. It's challenge. Do you remember like the optional boss at Super Mario RPG, Colin?
No.
It was like that, like Final Fantasy S kind of boss they have in there. He was really sick, but it's like you need to keep a lot of cool secret final bosses like that. They're super hard.
God, we should do a show on that game one day. That game was so weird.
Super Mario RPG?
Yeah, that game was weird even at the time. I was like, what is this? You know, I liked it, obviously. Yeah, I did like it, but I was like, yeah, it felt strange. Like it shouldn't have. Honestly, when it came out, I was like, oh, this is like a Mario is missing style nonsense game that I don't want to play. No. You know, like
that's an awesome.
Because there were like a lot of weird Mario games at the time.
Yeah,
you brought up Mario Paint and shit like that.
Hotel Mario,
right? Where it's like, what is like Mario RPG? But as a 10 or 11 years, I think I was 11 when it came out. I did recognize it's like, oh, Squaresoft.
Yeah.
That's something. That means something.
Dude, Colin, man, I'm old enough to remember you see Squaresoft on something, you're like, oh yeah, I'll buy that. Sure.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah,
even random things that I didn't understand or like,
yeah, exactly.
Like what was that game? Tobal and like
yeah, dude.
Einhander and like just random things where I was like anything. The Bouncer. Anything with Squaresoft on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would buy. Although the Bouncer was way better than people give it credit for.
Yeah, it's just really short, but it was fun. That was an early PS2 game, like really early, right?
Yeah, really early. Yeah. I don't think it was launched, but it was like right there.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like Souls-likes already, but I mean, Hood doesn't really like Souls-like, and he's enjoying this, so maybe give it a shot. There is the demo, and I think it does carry progress over, so I love stuff like that. I love to see game developers do that. It's a great way to get you into their game, so check it out. I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I'll see how I feel about it when I finish it, but so far I am enjoying the struggle. All right, let's see here. What are we talking about next? Atomfall. You guys are both playing this.
Mm-hmm. I beat it, actually.
Oh, you did beat it. Okay, holy moly.
Oh, cool.
You already beat it. All right, let's start with you since you've...
Yeah.
No, actually, Chris, let's start with you because you haven't finished it.
Yeah. Well, I'm super early into it. Like I only kind of just started over the weekend, just out of sheer curiosity. It was kind of calling me, and I realized that it was on Game Pass. And I was like, oh well, all right, yeah, okay, why not?
Yeah, Game Pass has some good stuff on it, right? And coming up because that Expeditions 33 game is going to be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So man, it's very Fallout evocative. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. In fact, I would say it's like surprisingly different from what you would expect. I think it does have that walkout moment, which is kind of nice and nostalgic. Cool. But I'm really liking it so far. I'm still in like the first kind of locale and kind of piecing the map together. I did have an issue immediately though, which is like this is a Eurojank game, is it not?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in some sense, which is surprising because Rebellion actually doesn't make games like this typically, so it's surprisingly Eurojank.
Yeah, because like the first thing that happens in the game, this is not a spoiler at all. Like you're talking to like some engineer who's bleeding out, and he's talking to you, and he's like he's basically teaching you how to craft stuff. He got like maybe 3 sentences in, and then I pressed the pause button because I was like, oh man, I can't remember. I went to go to the fridge to get a drink. It came back, and all the audio was gone.
Oh,
like the audio completely.
Oh yeah, I saw Jez Corden was tweeting about like bad audio bugs in the Xbox version.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's about, but that happened twice, and it was kind of annoying. It wasn't like end of the world or like progress breaking or anything, but it was noticeable enough. I think that bears mentioning.
Yeah,
if you guys play it on Xbox, maybe that's an Xbox specific bug. Whatever. I experienced it, but one thing that is striking me specifically is like I'm really I like the way this game looks because it looks realistic, but like it's got like a realistic kind of like grounded art style, but it's also like I can't even put my finger on how it's stylized, but it feels like it is. And it's not obvious. It's not immediately apparent like it's like cell shaded or something, or it's like avowed where it's like it's just hyper specific color work.
Right,
It's
yeah.
There's something about it that feels like it's almost like it feels almost dreamlike. There's something about it. It's really cool, and I'm really into it. I'm really into the vibe. Even just something, even the little details, like even just like the fonts that they use, I think are like when a new area is discovered, it's like, this is nice. This is like a pleasant kind of experience. I don't know what it is, but I'm intrigued. I think the way that they do, I think the way that the map works and the way that the quote unquote quest log works. I know we got a question about that works. I think it's really interesting. And I'm super into it. Actually, it feels like a middle ground between the Elden Ring, let's not tell you anything, and the over explaining of like an Assassin's Creed or like a Ubisoft style game where there's markers all over the map. It feels like, no, we're going to give you a map.
Yeah, let's get into it.
But let
me read this real quick from Sam Brown. Colin and Chris, how are you liking the lead system in Atomfall? Do you find it more immersive and enjoyable? Could you see a version of it replacing the typical quest log we see in the vast majority of games?
Yeah, man. I really like that. I like.
Yeah, like what is it? Like, explain it, I guess.
So basically, like you'll come across like a new location or a new character, and they will say something that will be of some importance to a quest that you have ongoing. And instead of kind of automatically like pointing you in the direction on your compass or dropping a pin somewhere, it'll essentially just give you, I don't even know what to call it, like notes or something. Like it'll just point you in that direction. Then you have to find it on the map. You have to place the pins. There's some things that will like pop up like on the map, but it's really player driven as far as like where you're going to go and where your waypoints are directing you. Okay. And you have to kind of be smart about like where you're pointing yourself in some way. And so like there's not like a bunch of like shit on the compass all the time. You know what I mean? It's like you're never going to walk by like a place of importance, and it's like Skyrim where like, it'll fade in on the compass and then you can just go in that. It's never going to do that. Like you have to actively seek out these locations and actually discover them. And then when you discover them, you actually have to be like, okay, well, that's this place. Let me go on my map and stamp it. And mark it. Like some places I think are like, if they're quest specific, they'll like have like, places on the map that will immediately like let you know. But like, there's a lot of places that like, you'll find like a really interesting location where you'll be like, and it doesn't pop up on the map at all. It's like, all right, well, I gotta mark the map for this. And you have, it's almost like the stamp system in Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom. Where you can like place stamps in certain places to like let you know of like certain places of importance. Yeah. But I'm still kind of getting my handle on it. Colin would know more about it as someone who's beaten it, but I'm really so far like early on in the game, I'm really liking the way this is set up. It makes me feel like I'm not overwhelmed by like just a list of things, like, oh, like meet with the merchant, talk to, Daggerfeld or whatever the fuck. It feels like
Daggerfeld has the scroll for you. You got to go talk to him.
He's conjuring an Atronarch. No, like at first your only goal is to like find the interchange, which is like, you don't know what that means, but that's your only goal. And then so like you're kind of going through the game, and as you're having conversations with certain people, you're going to be keeping an ear out for that word. And they might be like, okay, well, there's rumors of a place called the Interchange over to the west. And you're like, oh, interesting. Okay, so like, and you head, it's very engaging, I guess. For me, early on in the game, I don't know how long that stays engaging or if it loses its luster. Colin will be able to speak more to that. But so far early on in the game, I'm really, really liking the system. And I think it's a really healthy kind of middle ground between like that over-explaining and that extreme under-explaining that FromSoft does. And it kind of allows you to kind of fill in the gaps yourself, and it treats you with a certain amount of intelligence without just leaving you out to the winds with no, leaving you in a boat without a paddle. It's really cool. But Colin,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, what do you think about the lead system?
Yeah, so I like the lead system. I think that it wears thin. It wore thin on me towards the end. It's like I want a video game to embrace being a video game more than than this game does. I think it's a really good game. It's really compelling. I played it all the way through pretty quickly because I was interested in it and like where it was going. But I also don't want to play games like this very often. That's like a big thing. I can see this being very attractive because it's very different than a lot of games most people play, including most games I play or almost any game I play where, like Chris is saying, it doesn't really, the game, I think Chris is even like overstating it in some sense. Like the game doesn't tell you anything. Like it really doesn't. Like there are weird game. I don't know if you've experienced this. Do you have the metal detector, Chris, by chance?
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, okay. You don't have to get it, but you optionally might. And there's a weird thing with the metal detector where it's just an item you have where the game will prompt you when it's time to use it.
Oh,
and I was talking to Micah. I'm like, the game won't even tell me what I'm supposed to do next, but it's telling me when I'm supposed to use the metal detector. Like there are weird incongruencies, if that makes any sense in the game. Where I'm like, if you're not going to be a video game, like a Far Cry game, let's say, then really do it. Like, why are you doing this? That's so strange. Why? And there's another tool in the game you get later. I won't even spoil what it is, where it's the same thing. And I'm like, that's cool. I don't mind that. But it's weird to me that like you won't even tell me what the next quest is or give me any information on any item I have or tell me how to make craft things or anything, but you're going to tell me when I should pull out the metal detector. So that seems to me to be like a focus test sort of like.
Yeah, 100%. Because I don't know the game and I haven't played it. I'm not sure, but I think about like something like a metal detector, and it seems like, am I just gonna have to have this out the entire game? Kind of thing?
Well, I understand that would be what it seems like, but in fact, you find a lot of documents that indicate where things are. The map is the maps you get are grid based, like where you use like longitude and latitude to find things. And I'm not saying that would be fun. I'm just saying that strikes me as a fundamental inconsistency. In like, are we a game? Aren't we a game? Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys, if I might, and I'll put it here in the chat, is the Moby Games listing for it. And I noticed this when I beat the game. If you remove like all of the game localization people that are external and all the special thanks and support teams that didn't really work on the game and PR and community people, this game was made by a really small team.
Cool.
Surprisingly small considering what it is. I would say maybe 200 people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Rebellion, we were using the term Eurojank before, and it's a little unfair in the sense that maybe it's a little unfair to who it's really about. Eurojank really is Eastern European.
Sure.
Right. But I agree, this feels like a game that was made in Poland. For better or for worse.
Yeah.
And not in the UK.
In fact, it is also just reminiscent of a lot. Like it is like when I was playing it, I was like, oh, this is it reminds me of Stalker. You know, not exactly. Like it's not by any means like exactly the same, but there's elements of it. Yeah, I got the vibe of it. Even just like moving around. I don't know if you felt this, Colin. Maybe it might just be an issue with the Xbox version because it seems to be having some weird issues. But even just moving around, like I don't know if my character moves at a consistent speed all the time. Like there's a weirdness. Like the game, there's a weirdness to it. I was saying, Mike and I were on our walk, one of our walks, and I was talking to her about it. And I'm like, in some sense, the game is clearly, like you were saying, it's a very Fallout 3 style game on its periphery, right? Yeah. But I'm like, Fallout 3 didn't play well and actually leaned into, even for the time, it really didn't. And that's like what VATS is and everything. It's an acknowledgement that like we have to figure out a way to make this playable. And I'm surprised that, and so I was like, actually, Fallout plays better than Atomfall because Atomfall kind of tries to have it both ways, where Rebellion makes pretty fine shooters, and this doesn't feel like one of them. Whether it's Zombie Army or the Sniper Elite games, like these are not mega popular games at all, but they're bona fide first person shooters. And this game feels like this is a bloated open world game with first person shooting mechanics that leave a little bit to be desired, not unlike Fallout, but there's nothing like VATS to make it more playable.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I read somewhere that the game could be played non-violently, and I don't understand how that's possible. There's, and I won't even get into it. Also, because I don't want to spoil anything. Right. And Chris, if you actually end up beating it, you should join. Maddie and I are going to do a spoiler cast for it next week. We were going to do it this week, but he had a scheduling conflict. So
yeah,
if you're interested, I'll touch base with you.
How long did it?
It took me 15 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are 6 endings, I think, or 7 endings, something like that.
Nice.
And I figured out 2 of them basically. I was kind of I wasn't really dicking around too much in the beginning. I was, but eventually I was like, I just want to beat this game.
Sure. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's just get through it. I'd like to go back and get the other endings, but I'm waiting for like a guide that will be like most effective in like knowing how to do them all without having to play the game a bunch more times, because I don't want to do that.
Right.
But also, Chris, I agreed with what you were saying. The game is deeply surreal. I think the more you play it, the more surreal it gets. And there was something I noticed about the game about halfway through where I was like, oh, that's fucking weird. And I don't even want to say it because there's something fundamental about it, about the world, where I was like, oh, that was like so unsettling about, I'll just say it's like a concept of being in a living, breathing, open world. There's something deeply missing here about that. And I wonder if people will kind of key in on what it is that makes it
birds.
Birds. No, not birds. And I think it's so cool that even though it's not a literal spoiler, it's like something I wonder if people will notice on their own. So I'll leave it for the spoiler cast.
Sure.
But when I clued in on this thing, I was like, oh, this is a very unsettling sort of game. Now, I think the story is really cool. It's an alternate history game. It takes place after a real event, and which is the Windscale fire in 1957.
So this is your shit. You love.
Oh yeah, this is exactly. Yeah. This is and I was saying on Sacred, it's like the basis of what's great about Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Is like spinning off and trying something from a Call of Duty Black Ops was the same.
Yeah.
So I really like that the Windscale fire is like this somewhat minor British nuclear power plant problem. It's not, and we were saying on the show that it's not like Chernobyl where there's like in a 30,000 year exclusion zone around and stuff, obviously, but there was like people died of cancer and shit, and it's not a good thing. But in this game, as Chris was saying, like you wake up, and this isn't a spoiler because this is the very beginning, so I'll just preface it for people. It's like you basically wake up and you're an amnesiac, like you don't know who you are and where you are, and you find yourself next to this dude that Chris was describing earlier that's like mortally wounded. And he's like giving you information about things that have happened, and like you've kind of been out for 5 years, and you end up emerging into the world, and you're in an exclusion zone of some mysterious kind around the power plant and the towns and environs around it. But what's interesting is that no one knows how to get out of it. So even the military that was dispatched to like deal with the issue, like can't get out. And there are like traders that can't get out, and visitors and like travelers that can't get out. Like everyone's just trapped. And the military kind of ends up taking over, like in a sort of soft fascistic thing. In fact, I named last week's Sacred Symbols a warning shot as a wasted bullet, because it's one of the things that like the voice over the loudspeaker says to people. So you end up in like these certain like towns and shires kind of around the area, and you're basically going between them. And it's really cool in the sense that and the whole premise of it is neat, where you really don't know what the fuck's going on. And the game doesn't tell you anything. Like you have to find a document. You read the document. The document tells you it's a lead. Then like instead of it saying like, go do this, it just says follow lead, like press square, follow lead. And then it'll be like kind of some things like this person heard that there's something in the north about with like a crashed helicopter or something. And then you can go find the crashed helicopter, and inside the crashed helicopter is like a key card. And then you go back to town, and you're trading with someone, and they notice that you have the key card in your inventory, and they give you more information, but like none of it's tied together really.
Okay.
And so the way you beat the game is by escaping. And there are different people you meet throughout the game, some of whom I didn't meet at all, where you get information and do different things for them and kind of interact with them in a certain way. One might be like a military commander. There's a person you only meet over a telephone. There's like a witch that lives like with this coven in the woods, like all this weird shit. And by interacting with them, there's like a woman, one of the coolest characters, like there's this stately kind of estate with this woman who doesn't realize anything's fucked up, and she's like crazy, and she can help you escape. And so you're just putting 2 and 2 together. So you might get like 40% down the line on one person, 0%. You might not even meet another person. You might get 90% of the way with another person, and then you get out with this other person or through this other person's thing or whatever. It's cool. It's a cool idea. I think it's very vague, and I can understand that some people are going to be very into it, and some people are going to be like, "This is infuriating because I don't have time to be dealing with this like it's a puzzle to this extent." It reminds me both of a game that people can spend way, way, way more time than 15 or 20 hours with, and a game that also only requires that if that's what you want to give it. What it reminds me of, I was thinking of the games that it reminded me of, and I said on Sacred that one of the games that it reminded me of was Deathloop, which is true. In that, like, it's segmented areas where you're kind of like trying to figure out a puzzle. It's not so much a shooter you're going through as much as a world you're existing in as you go back and forth, is trying to figure things out. There's no fast travel, nothing like that. But it also reminds me aesthetically and thematically, and this is kind of because they're British, but also because I think the games are similar, is it reminds me of the games from the Chinese Room. Like Dear Esther, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and even a little bit of Still Wakes the Deep, which I wasn't crazy about, but certainly Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Dear Esther. Like it feels like there are. Dear Esther is a deeply surreal British game. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is a deeply surreal British game that takes place in almost identical environments. You know, so if you've played those games, I think you'll see a lot of that here too. Yeah, otherwise there's like a cool crafting system in it. One of the interesting things about the game is that even like your skill, you have to find like magazines that teach you the ability to even learn skills. So there are just entire skill sets you might not ever get and things like that.
Oh yeah. Doesn't Fallout do stuff like that? Or you like find books or something like that?
Yeah, but they augment, like you have access to all of your stat increases.
And they like just change it. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
With this, it's like if you don't find a certain set of books, you'll never learn like how to make new guns or something like that.
Right.
Like there's no leveling system. You don't get any experience points. What the game is structured by you finding these shots that you can give yourself, and you save up a bunch of them so you can do like 3 of them to give you this upgrade, and 5 of them to give you this upgrade, and 7 of them to give you this upgrade. But you have to find the upgrades, then you have to find the shots. And so doing things isn't making your character stronger. In fact, because of like some weapon scarcity and item scarcity, it might be easier to not to do as little as possible. Although I will say this, bullets aren't nearly as scarce as it seems in the beginning, especially because all the traders you find will sell them to you and stuff like that if you need them. So there's that. I also found the crafting system to be a little underwhelming, though it's well constructed. The crafting economy is all fucked up. You can only carry like 12 or 16 items at any one time. That never increases or decreases. That's just what it is. And you find so many items like cloth and string and all these things. But eventually you max out on all of them, and there's no need to really make very much. And you can't really carry very much. So this crafting system makes sense within the world and like what you're trying to do, but it's not something that I really leveraged very much at all. I might have crafted fewer than 10 things in the entire game. Okay.
Yeah. Just need to balance that out a little bit, probably. Then. Okay.
So that's my Atomfall dump.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. I want to read this from Barry real quick. Hello there, chaps. This question is to Chris and Colin. How many times have you chosen the most chaotic dialogue option in Atomfall just to see what happens, only to instantly regret it? So I have a little follow up on that, but do you guys do anything chaotic in this game so far?
No.
Played pretty straight.
Yeah, no, I'm always so worried to do. I don't know what it is about games where I can choose to say things, but like I always want to be like very agreeable. Yeah. Like I get it. Most people are probably like that. Yeah.
Most people are definitely like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if because there was one guy that I think I lied to, but it felt to me like that's a pretty white lie. I couldn't remember exactly what the option was, but it seemed like I'm not like so many of these games. It's almost like the Mass Effect Paragon and Renegade system, where it's just like, all right, I'm either going to be nice to you, or I'm going to punch, or I'm just going to punch this woman in the face.
Right. Exactly.
There's really no in between. There's really no in between.
Yeah.
And it feels like I like that this seems to have a little bit more depth. I don't think it's like nearly like, I don't know. It's not like Fallout New Vegas level depth where like you can go in and really granularly kind of discern exactly what it is you want to be.
It's also not based on
about.
any statistics. You just have options. Like you're,
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So no dice
Yeah.
roll.
like
or
there's
MG?
nothing like blacked out where it's like you're not evil enough to say this or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
which is cool. I will say, and I don't know if you've experienced enough of this yet, Chris, is that the one thing that's frustrating to me, because first of all, I always play as the nice person because I just feel weird playing as the evil person, unless like trophies are required. Like in Infamous, I'll always go back and play the evil version of Cole.
Yeah.
But I typically don't like to play like that. And we've brought this up many times on Sacred, but it's like I've always been kind of heartened by the stats that BioWare has released in the past, where it's like, oh, only 1 in 10 people play as a renegade in Mass Effect. Like almost no one plays, to the point where they're like, it's almost a waste of time for us to even do this because it's actually not half and half at all. It's not like Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue or something. It's like actually most people want to be good. But so I've been trying to be good in the game, or like decent and nice. But one of the things that bothers me is like there are options. It'll be like curious, prying, aggressive, threatening, and that's all cool. But it kind of leads you on a little bit, and it's like, I don't need that. I don't need you to hold my hand that much. And again, that's a kind of an asymmetric, is this a game or isn't it kind of situation. Right. Like, just give me the options. Don't tell me what the choices I'm making are how they're gonna. They're already telling me how it's going to affect the other person. If I'm prying, they're going to get impatient with me. If I'm curious, they'll tell me more information. If I'm threatening to them, they might attack me. It's like, I get it. Just let me figure it out on my own. You know?
It sounds like it just felt too predictable. What do you know the outcome would be sometimes? I think it's interesting in games when like you say something to the character, but maybe it doesn't go the exact way you thought, and that depends on who you're talking to. But it sounds like on this, you knew exactly how they were going to feel, whatever you said.
Well, it's not only that, it's that they were telling me how they were going to feel before I even said it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That takes away a lot of like the thrill of picking stuff, I guess.
Right. That's what was fun about, that's what makes New Vegas in my mind. I've said this a million times, like so iconic, is that you really don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you really are kind of just flying, but like you know as much as you know, and you're kind of making choices and answering things, and it's not quite clear you're even making the right choices. And there's something fun in that. Always and it also like drives you towards outcomes that's what makes the game so fun. And the tension in the games is like, it's driving you towards outcomes you didn't even really want, which is what makes it so fun. It makes it feel alive.
Yeah, that's good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love stuff like that. And I think this fine for things to be a little more shallow, but like, it sounds like you could have gone for a little more for what was there in this aspect, I guess.
Well, this is why I wanted to bring up, like, the team that made it is small. This is a very complex game, in my opinion, for a team that small. There's a lot to it. I didn't see most of it, I don't think. I went to all the places. I saw all the locations. There's basically like a village, and then like 3 or 4 like kind of grasslands, territories with little houses and farmlands and stuff like that. And then there's the interchange, which is something I'm not going to explain what that is, which is an important, like a location that you're trying to get to. And then there's something even further in, as you'll learn in the game. I should point this out is, by the way, there's a trophy for beating it in under 5 hours, and apparently you can beat it in under an hour. That's another thing that I'm always interested in, is like how, and I can see conceptually how you can beat this game really quickly. I won't get into like what you specifically have to. You're trying to open up and unlock more and more deeper into this place, basically, and you need to use things that you find. So you can basically if you know where those things are, you can kind of make a beeline towards them. You won't get any of the satisfaction of the stories. You probably won't meet almost anyone. But I'm interested. So I'm waiting for more clarity on all of this, because I would like to go back and fuck around with it more.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I got to move on.
Yeah. One thing I will say about, because we were talking a little bit about the comparison between Fallout and how like Fallout actually plays a little bit better because it's got VATS. Because the first person combat in here is like it's not amazing. I wouldn't say it's as bad as like default Fallout 3 or New Vegas. Like that was pretty bad. Like it's nowhere near that bad, but it is like, it's distinctly not polished, or not like, it doesn't feel crisp or satisfying in the way that like a Doom or a Call of Duty or a Destiny would feel. But like I do think, I don't know, I found myself really liking it for that reason, because it does kind of feel like there's like a tension whenever combat is happening that I kind of don't feel in a lot of games, because a lot of games I think are, how to make a first person shooter. Like we know how to make an FPS that feels pretty good now at this point. Like the mystery's cracked at this point. And so a lot of games where I feel like even in Fallout with like VATS to lean on, like there's sometimes where like I feel like there's supposed to be tension here, but there kind of isn't. And because Atomfall's like gunplay isn't really pristine and it isn't really like super reliable, it's all on you. And I do feel like that tension adds something to like the tone of like the world. I'm not like making an excuse necessarily because it's ultimately just bad gunplay, but it works for this place and this story and this vibe a lot more than I've seen similar issues work in other games that are like trying to do something similar.
Yeah.
So I thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, cool. This is from Davey Supple. What's up, dudes? I need a little help here. Looking for a new game, but I don't know if I want Atomfall or Indiana Jones. I know Chris has played both of these, and I know Colin is looking forward to playing Indy. This would predominantly be a Portal game for me. They are both single-player games, so if you could provide some pros and cons, that would aid me in my decision-making. Much love to LSM. All right, yeah. What do you think, Chris? You've played both.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this really does depend on how you feel about Indiana Jones, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as an IP. Because I think if you're a fan of Indiana Jones, I think there's really no question that you should play it. You know what I mean? Like, but if you don't care, like if you're like, yeah, I've never seen the movies, I'm just kind of curious about the game because I like machine games, like I would maybe go Atomfall. Not to say that you wouldn't find anything to love there. It's just like, it's almost like a Hogwarts Legacy kind of situation where like, that is a really competent game. It's pretty good. It's like a really high, in my opinion. It's like a high 7, I think. You know what I mean? And I not disparagingly at all. But if you're a fan of Harry Potter, that game's like a 9 out of 10 for you because it's fleshing out this place that you've been a fan of for a long time. And I would say something similarly about Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones by itself is more of an 8, I think. I think Indiana Jones is very good. But if you're a fan of Indiana Jones, like that's like a really high quality experience that I don't think you should miss out on. But yeah, I think, I don't know, it depends on what your vibe is. I do think they're like somewhat similar. Like even what Colin was saying about the books to upgrade your character and it's not really skill points. That's an aspect of Indiana Jones. Like that's how you kind of get new skills. And there are skills that you could never find in Indiana Jones. Like I remember seeing somebody else play and being like, how the fuck did they do that? Like, oh, they found this book somewhere in like Egypt that I didn't find. And so they're both kind of in this kind of weird territory of like go and discover. Indiana Jones is a little bit more a little bit more directed. It's a little bit more linear, despite the fact that it's like kind of open zone structured. Obviously a lot more hand holding, a lot more, focus on narrative and cutscenes. But I don't really know. It depends on how you feel about Indiana Jones. And if you want more of an action game, I would say, yeah, go Indiana Jones because I think Atomfall is more of, I don't want to say immersive sim because that term gets used too much. And I wouldn't even really call it that at all. But it has the elements in the sense of like, you're just kind of thrown in this world and you just kind of have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And that's a very particular mood. Whereas Indiana Jones, I think you could play that game at any point in time and I think enjoy it and you wouldn't be turned off by it. You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not in the mood for this. Like, no, it's fucking Indiana Jones. And I would say even just the beginning of Indiana Jones like sets you up for like the first 10 minutes of it, I think is fantastic enough to get you on board with it if you weren't feeling it anyway. So I think I would lean towards Indiana Jones, I think. But they're both good for very different reasons.
Yeah. Man, I need to get back to Indiana Jones. When I played it was great. I had a really fun time playing it.
Yeah, I'm on like the last bit of it, and then I just got sucked away to other things. But
yeah, it's a long game from what I've heard too. So
it's meaty, man. It's a good. Yeah. It's a really solid. But I was also like really going through all the like I was trying 100% these areas.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
But
because it's cool. Yeah. You're gonna play it, right, Colin?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
I want to know more about the nature of the expansion that's coming out for it because I was reflecting on Sacred Symbols a couple of weeks ago. There's a $99 special edition digital version that comes with, it's 2 days early access and comes with the expansion. And I'm like, well, that's not a bad investment if the expansion is like a $24.99 expansion but if it's like some $10 thing, then I don't want to pay all this money for 2 days early access. So I think I'm just going to wait until it's available for the $70, but I'm definitely going to play it.
Sure.
I'm super looking forward to it.
When's Claire Obscure come out again? It's like May or April?
I thought it was like May. Maybe it is April. Oh, April. Oh no, is it April? I know it's April 24th because we're actually we have to go to Massachusetts that weekend. So
okay.
I think it's April 24th.
So they're a week apart. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I love machine games, and
yeah, you're gonna like it, dude.
I'm a little skeptical of first person non-shooting action games. We were talking a little bit about that with Atomfall.
Well,
things don't feel quite right in those kinds of games sometimes, but I think machine games
they do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
I think they
was sick.
I think they really nail it, actually.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of surprised that I had the same exact reservations. We're just like, how are they going to make that feel good? Like they're more of a gunplay studio, and what are we doing here? But it is so satisfying to just beat the shit out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The sound effects do a lot for it too. Like it's awesome.
They're good.
It's so good.
I'm surprised they didn't try to make a more Uncharted like game. It's cool that they didn't. I mean, this is what they know. I think just action would, like, physical melee action works best in third person, I think, and shooting works best in first person.
Sure.
I think so.
Ironically, a game like Uncharted is a third person shooter, cover based, and it's good. It's great. It's awesome. But I prefer those. That's why, like, a game like Avowed doesn't look interesting to me, because I'm like, it's like the first person sword swinging. The only game where I really loved that kind of thing was actually Dying Light. I thought did it pretty well.
Yeah. Well, in Avowed you can do third person, but it's
okay. I've never even seen a screenshot of that.
Yeah, I found that pretty early on. I was like, oh shit. I didn't like it really because it's not built for it, you know. Like
it seems
the animation's really. It's not exactly Skyrim, but you know exactly.
Yeah, like the weird third person. Yeah, like
they're crouched in like a weird. Everybody in a first person game when switched to third person has scoliosis. I notice.
Yeah,
like no matter what.
Yeah, did you ever see like the camera in, like, it was a Crisis game where it's like someone like zoomed out the camera action when you're not supposed to see it, like the player like going over stuff, and his body was like all fucked up. It was awesome.
His head's in like the center of his chest, and he's like, that's my favorite shit. Like my favorite thing was like when they did that with a Doom, I think Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, where like they broke the camera out. And Doom, dude, if third person Doom guy was anywhere, he would be the scariest thing in the room. Not because of what he can do, but just his proportions are so ungodly fucked that like there's no happiness in that room.
He's in Fortnite, dude. Doomslayer right there.
They really polished him up for Fortnite.
Yeah, they did. All right, Chris, let's talk about Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Did this come out on PSN or something, or like Plus?
I think it did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a PS Plus game.
Okay, nice.
That's why I chose to dive into it. Because I'm also playing Assassin's Creed, and I just kind of wanted something a little different in between.
Something to games,
I noticed that immediately. I was like, oh shit, what are the odds? But I'm in every genre right now. It seems like I'm third person, first person, and then 2D or 2.5D, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm playing a little bit of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and my relationship with these types of games is interesting. Like, I don't know if I've ever been deeply compelled by 2D Metroidvanias. Like maybe a long time ago, I can remember like maybe a few that really got me, but they've never been my main course, so to speak. And I still think to this day, like the one that I find myself thinking about the most is Dead Cells. There was something about Dead Cells. I don't know if it was
Isn't
necessarily.
that a roguelite? Well, I guess it has elements like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But like I think it's a different game at all entirely. But like I just mean like 2D kind of like scrolling through the map and like looking for where you're supposed to go. I remember playing that for the first time and being like, this feels so tight. And it feels so good to move around and swing. Like it's so responsive. And I don't know if I've ever felt a game that responsive, really. Like there's something about Dead Cells that feels like butter. And Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, it does feel good, but I do notice that like it isn't as sticky like that. It doesn't feel as like, there are a lot of times where I feel like, man, I wish I could feel more. I wish I could rely on the button presses a little bit more. But it's very good. Like I think the presentation is really top tier. I think it's like really. I think it's fun the way it's the way it's stylized and the way they do cutscenes, and they almost do like these dialogue character interactions in a similar way that Hades does it, where like the character portraits pop up, and I've always liked that style, especially for this art style. Like I think is really good and kind of interesting. It's one thing I didn't expect, and it could just because I'm rusty at these types of games, especially because, you know, when I play these games, I usually play the like straight 2D games or like pixel art games. I don't normally play the kind of 3D 2.5, like almost Shadow Complex type side scrollers. Is that like I'm really kind of rusty at this? I don't know, like my timing is really like I'm getting murked a lot, and I'm not really playing on like a particularly high difficulty. I think I just need to get used to it a little bit more.
Yeah, totally.
But so far, I'm intrigued by the story, which is something I can't say for a lot of these games. I usually just like play these for like I don't know what the fuck was going on in Dead Cells at all.
Yeah,
you know, like I didn't. If there even is anything going on, like I tend to just kind of like, you know, this is not why I'm playing. But I am interested in what's happening. I am interested. Oh, this character's gone. Like you got to go find him. It's like I'm kind of invested in a way that I didn't necessarily expect. I think it controls fairly well. I think the level layouts are fun. I think some of the enemy types are really engaging. There's directional kind of air combat that I think is really fun, like being able to like jump over an enemy and like aim down and like attack, and like there's like you kind of get to hover in the air a little bit, so there's like kind of a cushion to let you kind of acrobatic yourself around situations that you would otherwise kind of fall into danger, which I like. But it's a really solid. I'm enjoying my time with it a great deal. My only issue right now, and it really has nothing to do with the game, it really has more to do with like I guess the the way that I'm choosing to play it, is that like I've been playing it at night on my Steam Deck through the streaming thing, and for some reason, like for the last 2 days, my streaming thing's it's been like glitching and skipping, and I'm like, well, I can't play I can't play a game like this that way,
right? Yeah.
So, but it sucks because it feels so good on like a portable. It feels so good on a portable screen. It's nuts. So I'm playing it on the PS5 right now, but I'm liking it so far. Like I think it's really solid. I don't know how long it will remain that way, or how consistent that is throughout the game. Yeah. But so far, I'm really into what the story is kind of trying to set up. I'm really interested in the main character. I'm interested in this moveset and this world. It's got me. It's not hooked me, but it's got me. It's got my attention.
Yeah.
What's that Leonardo what's that you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. From Django.
I'm waiting for the attention. It's got my curiosity right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I only played like a couple hours of it, but I remember it being really good, and I was like, this is cool. I like it. I don't know. I think it came out at a weird time, I want to say, where I was just doing something else at the time, but I remember enjoying it, and I love Metroidvanias. But Colin, you played through this, and you played through it.
I platinumed it. Right? Yeah. I really don't remember very much of it anymore. Like the one thing that I wish it was properly 2D, but I remember it being really quite good. And the disappointing thing about it being that Ubisoft just seemed to have too high expectations for its performance.
Yeah,
because it seemed like it was well liked. People enjoyed it.
Yeah, it seemed
it just wasn't good
like
enough.
but I don't know. Games like this, like I don't know. Metroidvanias like don't sell like crazy amount, I guess, outside of a couple examples.
Yeah, none of them sell well. I mean,
like even Metroid, yeah. I think Silk Song will do pretty well, like relatively speaking for them, it'll do very well. But it's not going to sell like I don't know.
If Silk Song even fucking exists, it'll do very well.
It does. My coworker played it years ago. I remember seeing him play it.
Yeah, whatever. I'll believe it when I see it. At this point.
Maybe it's dead now.
I'm so sick. I'm getting so frustrated. So frustrated putting that thing on my like draft for like I think 2 years in a row. I'm like, fuck That's you.
Awesome. Maybe it'll be at the Switch 2 event.
That'd be great. That'd be a good spot for it, man.
That seems like a good time to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good time to do it.
They were just waiting for a new Switch to come out. That's so egregious.
Let's see. Putus, Lord of Sloths, wrote in. What's up, guys? With Tales of Kenzar Zao leaving PS Plus library soon and Prince of Persia just being added, I'd like to know which you'd recommend playing more. I'm not huge into 2D games, but I like to try them out every once in a while. I'm feeling in the mood for one, but I don't have time to dedicate to both with my backlog. Now, Colin, you've played both of these games extensively. What do you think?
I remember, as I recall, I think Tales of Kinzera Zao is like the better game, just because I think it's more interesting. I think it's also what I remember about that game. These two games kind of blur together because they are quite similar and they came out close to each other. But I think Prince of Persia was first, and then a couple months later was Tales. But I played them both pretty close to each other as well. And what I remember about Tales of Kinzera was that it kind of took place within the confines of a Metroidvania, but it wasn't linear by any stretch of the imagination. It was just like, it was kind of a sensible voyage through a map towards an end that you can then backtrack towards if you wanted to use skills that you would get later on to find items you missed or whatever. So they kind of almost fundamentally feel different, even though they look the same because they have similar maps and structures. But Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, I'm watching gameplay of it now to remember it. Yeah, it has like cool upgrade systems in it and stuff like this. It's a deeper game than Tales of Kinzera Zao. So it really is dependent. I'd play them both. I mean, as a Metroidvania fan, I enjoyed them both. They were definitely worth it.
Okay, but they need one. So you'll say Tales?
Yeah, Tales of Kinzera Zao, I think is the one I would recommend.
Okay. This is from Flavor Flav can control time with his clock.
That's an awesome visual.
Howdy, boys. As addendum to your Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown discussion, I got to ask, did you guys like Prince of Persia 2008? I have very fond memories of that game. I love the combination of rhythm game type platforming with a collectathon and occasional fights. And the presentation was top notch in my opinion, with gorgeous cel shaded graphics and a beautiful soundtrack. I know it's sort of a black sheep in this series, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I consider to be an underappreciated game. Take care. Did you ever play this, Colin?
Yeah.
This was Nolan North as
this was I'm trying to remember. I'd have to look at my trophies because there was 3 of them, right? In that like quick in succession.
There was the PS2 ones. Then there was this, I think, right?
2008.
Because this is the reboot? PS3 game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I played one of them. I'd have to look at my trophies, but I really don't know. I'm not a Prince of Persia fan. Even since the beginning, like when I first saw like side-scrolling Prince of Persia, I'm like, I just don't. I'm just not into this whole.
You know, like Sands of Time, dude.
Sands of Time might have been the one I played. That's the one that's on.
Was sick when it came out.
That
was
the one
GameCube,
on
PS2.
Yeah. That might be the one that I played. This might be a little too late. But I feel like there were like a trilogy of them or something. Maybe I am thinking of the other one.
So that was the trilogy. Sands of Time was the first game in that trilogy.
Yeah.
Then it was like the Warrior Within. Then I think like the Two Princes or something, whatever it's called.
I was reading the Wikipedia and I'm looking at the wrong one.
This one had Warrior Within had Godsmack in it. Stand alone.
Godsmack. Man.
in the game.
This is the one. Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones. These are the ones that I'm thinking of. Yeah, these are the ones. The so I played Sands of Time. Yeah, that's the iconic box art. That's the one. And then Prince of Persia 2008. Oh, I remember this box art too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever played this one. And then what was the one after this? That was it. Oh no, the Forgotten Sands. Okay. No, I never played this one.
I didn't play I don't think I played Forgotten Sands, but I've played all the other ones. Chris, did you ever play this?
Prince of Persia, I have like barely I think I played Sands of Time at like a friend's house a little bit. I watched him play it like when I was young.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, like really, Prince of this one, The Lost Crown, is really the only Prince of Persia game that I've played with any, deep interest or intention of finishing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've definitely like played maybe like a demo or like a Walmart. You know what I mean? Like I know I've played Prince of Persia. I don't remember which one. I think Sands of Time sounds like the right one because that was like the one that I remember.
That's kind of where it like blew up. Yeah,
that's the one that I remember hearing about. But outside of that, Prince of Persia is largely like a mysterious kind of franchise to me. Like I don't really know anything about it. Like the most, the only thing I really know about it is that it became Assassin's Creed. Or like there was like a Prince of Persia game that was like in the works, and then they were like, let's just make this something else, and it became Assassin's Creed. And I think that's fascinating and interesting. But I've never like gone back and tried to figure out, oh well, I wonder what the linking, etymology is here. But
I did play this game he was referring to. I played it in 2008, so I'm trying to remember, but I remember feeling more positive about it than negative. And I remember it did look really nice. It had cool shell shaded graphics. There were some weird things about it. I think you couldn't die in this game. There was like some weird mechanic where you just like couldn't die. So I thought that was very strange because the game you were the prince, obviously, but you had this girl with you also the entire game. And she would help you, like, she had like powers that could help you platform. And I think every combat encounter in the game was one-on-one only. And I remember feeling that was very strange as well. I remember thinking there's cool ideas, but I was not a fan of some of the other ideas. But I still remember being a pretty good game overall, though. But yeah, it's definitely forgotten.
I'm looking at I went to look. I got distracted looking at my trophies to see. I actually did play the 2009 or 2008 version, but
you did? That's funny.
But I played it for one day. It seems on July 19th, 2009, for about 2 hours. I played it. It seems like, so I did play it. I have the first 4 like story trophies.
So you gave it a shot.
So I guess I did. Yeah, I don't even remember that, but because what I remember about it is Sands of Time, because I remember it came out around the same time that Deus Ex game came out to Xbox, and I got them both on Xbox. I want to say, yeah, actually. So yeah, so I guess I played them both. I don't remember. I definitely don't remember that, but there it is. That's what's so fun about trophies. There you go.
Yeah.
July 19th, 2009. Young Colin, 25-year-old Colin.
Yeah, that's the remake they were making that was probably so bad they canceled it and rebooted it.
Yeah, some Indian team was making it.
And it looked bad when they first showed it. I remember I was like,
I'm pretty sure we went over this on Sacred. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they uploaded the trophies. Like the game was certified and ready. Yeah,
it was done.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder if anyone has the trophies, like those weird, obscure, unreleased. These someone does have some of the trophies. Because I remember we had a copy of NBA. What was EA's NBA series, NBA Elite or something like that? And they just I don't know if you remember, they just canceled it one year, like after it was done and shipped, and they were just like, never mind, we're not going to release it. But they had already sent us like printed discs. And I'm like, damn, this is so weird. This game will never have come out.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, is that what happened with Halo on DS, Colin, or was that like
no? That was like Halo on DS was like right. It was a people at Bungie were messing around with a port of, or no, I'm sorry, it was people at Rare were messing around with a port of GoldenEye that they were skinning as a Halo game, and it was being tested. And that's how I think they ended up getting that cartridge, which is kind of interesting. But
that is crazy. That's wild.
Sometimes these things, there are so many examples of that, really, when you think about it. Mega Man Universe was one of those games that was done and never released, which was a fucking real disappointment. I was looking forward to that. It always happens to me. It's like when the Division 2 got canceled, or the Division Heartlands got canceled. I was like, oh, come on, man.
You have to imagine in some sense that most games don't come out. You know what I mean? Because like there's always like a prototype version, or like there's like always some version of the game that's like that's not what this is anymore.
Totally.
So that's just completely ephemeral.
The most in the. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to step on.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the most famous game we had at IGN that was unreleased was that game Thrill Kill. We did have a copy of that.
Thrill Kill.
Yeah, Thrill Kill was like a really controversial PS1 fighting game that was like mega violent, and like 2 weeks before it was supposed to come out, it got pulled. And we actually have a copy. We actually had a copy of it, which was really cool. It must be worth a mega amount of money. Not a printed copy, like a build for review, because they would just send you during that PS1 era. They would send you burned discs for debug PS1s. So that was probably the rarest game we had. Halo is maybe one of them too, though. Because people just don't believe it's real, but it was.
Yeah. Do you remember there was supposed to be a Castlevania game on Dreamcast?
Yeah, that was I think Castlevania. What was that? Not Legend. Was it Legends? No, that was the Game Boy game. There was a Castlevania game that came out early in the PS2 era, or like midway through that. I think became that. Like,
They
adapted it or whatever.
They someone like got some of the code out like a year or two ago. I want to say this Dreamcast game. It was like playable to some extent.
Yeah, it was like an interstitial step between the like really rugged N64 games and what would become the kind of more solid PS2 games. I don't know why I can't remember the PS2 game, that Castlevania game on PS2. That's really good. But anyway,
Men of Innocence.
Yeah, maybe that's it. No, yeah,
there's only two. There's that and Curse of Darkness.
Right. Yeah, that's one of that's what I'm thinking of. I think that I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just saying I think that the Dreamcast game
turned into
those games or one of those games.
Okay.
I wish we could play more of these games that just didn't happen in the way that they ended up shipping, like the like early like one of the cool things about like the Halo collection right now is that you can play like the Macworld version of that game.
Yeah, that's super cool that they did that.
Which is really fucking incredible. Wow. Like the idea that any of that even exists still to be salvaged is so cool. And I wish I don't know. It's a shame that like a lot of developers don't keep that stuff, or like I guess why would you? It's just like why I say the same thing about like there's so many. I have hard drives with a bunch of shit on them that probably are just completely useless. But
it's that happens all the time. Like I remember, Colin, you probably remember this, seeing like Zelda 64 and Nintendo Power, and it's like very different from Ocarina of Time in a lot of ways.
Totally,
and it's like, oh man, if only.
Just to play it, even just out of curiosity, just like
There are quite a few things in the Nintendo Power era like that, going all the way back to the NES, like things that were never came out, that were different when they came out. It's so interesting, man. Like, working in that environment must have been nuts. Like, I don't. To me, I would just have been through the roof if I worked at Nintendo in 1988 or something, and not when I was 4. I mean, now.
Yeah.
God, that must have been crazy. Like, and the things that you probably have. I would just kill for like the NES. I would just love to know how the companies communicated with the magazines then. They would send them builds. Would they go visit them? I would love to see the press releases. I don't know. There's so much like lost stuff from that era that I don't even know would interest many people, but it would interest me. Just the interaction between the media and these magazines would be so interesting. I imagine it was crazy.
The orders from Nintendo.
Right. Like it was really, we really didn't know that Nintendo Power was like Nintendo
propaganda.
Yeah, it was propaganda. It was totally propaganda. We didn't know. I didn't know. Maybe someone else did. I definitely didn't.
I wanted to get brainwashed at that time.
Oh my God, I was desperate for it.
Nintendo. Yeah.
I was so excited when Nintendo Power came, like every month for many years.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like, oh my God, this is awesome. Even after I started falling off of Nintendo, I didn't during the N64 era when I really started playing mostly on PS1. I still loved Nintendo. I still played on Game Boy. I still played N64. I still played GameCube later, a lot of GameCube and GBA and stuff. So I was still into getting these magazines. Eventually, they just became and felt so antiquated. That was all. Like, that's I couldn't escape from that. You get a magazine and the review would be 2 weeks after it was reviewed on IGN or something, and I was like,
yeah, exactly. That kind of killed it. Yeah. But when they had scoops, it was cool.
It was cool, and I loved all the community stuff in it. Like, do you remember the I loved the rankings. I mean, it's very Colin autistic brain Colin shit, but like they had like the historic rankings of all the games, like the games people were most excited about. It was like 2/3 of the way through the magazine and there would be the NES games and the NES games and the N64 games, and it would just be all of this interesting data and letters from people, and people would send in their envelopes. Remember, like I used to try to send in envelopes. And people would, for people that don't know, it was a tradition to write in when you wrote into Nintendo Power that you would design an interesting envelope. And draw on it, and they had actually, I think, a huge wall, and Nintendo, that might still be there, of all the envelopes. So yeah. Anyway.
What a time.
Yeah.
Sorry, boomer talk here from all of us reminiscing about that.
I'm old.
Yeah. Sorry. All right, boys, it's time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we're just talking about something in the gaming industry we're not too pleased with. Could be a company, game, human being, perhaps. I don't know. Chris, you got anything this week that needs sorting?
Well, Ubisoft. I know you're going through a little bit of a restructuring right now.
Yeah,
I know you've got some foreign money there coming in.
Foreign money.
I would like to just inquire about the fuck's going on with Splinter Cell, if anything. And can you just cancel it already so I know and I'm at peace? That's my I don't know what the hell. I mean, we went over it kind of on the show. Like, I think the news broke while we were recording, if I'm remembering it correctly, right, Colin? Like that was like
yeah.
So a bunch of stuff's going there. I know Tom Clancy, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, they're kind of going under this new like kind of subsidiary, whatever you want to call it, at Ubisoft. But they specified like Tom Clancy as like, they didn't specify Tom Clancy overall. They specified Rainbow Six,
Right.
Siege specifically. So not even just Rainbow Six, but they said Siege, and I think maybe something else that was
The Division 3. They said they were still going to pursue, but not inside that new group.
And so I don't know. I guess just sort it out, figure out what you're going to do. If you're still, I just want to know about Splinter Cell. Because I've been itching for Splinter Cell forever. It's a goddamn joke in this community for how long Colin and I have been talking about this. Like,
even I know the joke,
dude.
I know the joke. Like, it's
I
brutal.
remember so distinctly, Colin. Like, no, they're gonna, it'll be out soon. And this is feels like a decade ago that we were talking about that. So, Ubisoft, sort it out, get your shit in order. Sell off what you need to, I don't know, do your restructuring, rename your company, do whatever you got to do to get some kind of Splinter Cell out there. I don't even know if I trust it at this point, but I'm just curious to see, if they even do it. I'm convinced it's canceled or it's just not happening.
Yeah, it feels like it's canceled, Chris.
Yeah.
And I would love to play because I had like no history with Splinter Cell at all. So I'd love to play those games. I was like a Metal Gear fanboy at that point. I was like, man, fuck Sam Fisher. He sucks. Snake's the best. But I would love to play these as a stealth fan also.
Yeah, they're just, it's so funny that they were like compared. Like, I get why they were compared, but like you play them and they're so different.
Yeah,
like
I think they're probably very different.
Like it is truly bewildering. Like it almost reminds me of do you remember when BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us were like weirdly pitted against each other because they both had like an AI
Troy Baker
girl
in both of them?
Yeah, they had Troy Baker and like an AI girl sidekick, and it's like these guys.
Yeah, calm down.
These could not be more different experiences if you wanted them to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. I don't know. I remember the last I heard about this thing was that it was like a remake of the first Splinter Cell, but like done in some kind of. I don't even remember like the verbiage that they used because I took it so unseriously. But that was the last thing that I heard about. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to remake the first Splinter Cell after they canceled like some VR game, which by the way, Splinter Cell VR seems perfect. I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you couldn't get that working.
It's a cool side piece. I feel like a companion piece to a proper Splinter Cell.
Brother, he's already wearing goggles.
Yes.
You got it.
Indeed.
Like it's the one thing that makes sense actually in this play. So yeah, sort it out. Sort the shit out. I'm getting tired.
That's a good one. I like it. Yeah, let Chris be happy, guys.
Yeah.
Just give him Sam Fisher back. Not in like some fucking spin-off bullshit game.
Yeah,
X Defiant or whatever the hell they were doing. Oh, God,
that infuriated the hell when I saw that. when I understood what X Defiant, because I thought it was just like, I don't know, some Ubisoft like shooter, and it is, but I didn't know how specifically Ubisoft shooter would describe it.
Right.
Like it's like, oh, here's random characters from Third Echelon. It's like, oh, I remember Third Echelon. Ha! I remember that. I remember from that game that you refused to pay attention to. That's sick. I love that it's here in this dead game. It's very awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. God forbid, I be have? Let me have. I know I've gotten every single obscure PS1 game that I could possibly want back on modern hardware, but like, come on,
Splinter Cell.
One more bone. Come on.
Yeah, throw him a bone. All right, great one. Colin, anything for you this week?
Yeah, I guess I'll just promote the new episode of Side Quest that we put up on YouTube. I just wrote a little something. People talking about this Steam Xbox situation without really thinking about it. Got to sort it out. Sounds like a great thing. And I believe it, by the way, that they're going to have some sort of base PC that runs like Xbox software and then has like your ability to run these other storefronts. I just ask people to consider how that works. Like, I really don't mechanically think people have thought it through. And it's funny reading the comments on the video where so many people are incensed by this idea of pointing this out. And I'm like, but you're not answering the question.
Right.
If you can run Steam on Xbox, how does Microsoft make money from you? And why would they deploy a console and make another storefront the beneficiary of the console? That's why I said like the company that benefits most from this is Valve.
Oh, of course.
oh,
You're
Yeah.
like,
easily,
okay,
yeah.
cool. Like, that's great, man. Yeah, definitely put Steam on Xbox. We could give a fuck.
They'll be fine no matter what.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't matter.
So I think the most common refrain that I think is maybe most reasonable, although it's not reasonable either, frankly, is who cares what works for them as long as it works for us? And I'm like, no. If it doesn't work for them, it's not going to happen long term. You need it to work for Microsoft. You need it to work for the company. You don't just do pro consumer things and don't make money on it. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter how big the company is.
Well,
And they don't have good instincts right now. I'm sorry. Like, so I feel like a lot of these moves are desperation moves and who knows if they really are planning on doing this. I think that the sources are solid that this is something that they want to do.
Right.
But for people that don't know, the whole contention is if you had Steam and Xbox running on the same platform, why would you buy any games on Xbox?
Yeah.
For instance, Xbox requires online play be paid for, right? And you could buy the same game. Like if you want to play Forza Motorsport 5, you would buy it on Xbox or Steam. You'd have your option. If you bought it on Xbox, Microsoft gets all your money, but you have to pay them for Xbox Live, I guess, or for like the lower rung of Game Pass. As opposed to just going to Steam, buying it, Microsoft gets 70% of the money, and you don't pay them for Xbox Game Pass anymore. It sounds like a disaster, frankly.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It surprises
Software,
me.
man.
So it sounds like I get why it sounds like a good idea.
yeah.
But
For a consumer. Yeah.
right, but it would be like saying like, oh, like I mean, you don't even need an example. It'd be like almost anything, like things that are inconceivable or don't really work. It could be good for you, but it doesn't mean it's sustainable or that it will function. You know.
Yeah,
So,
I have the same question. I don't know how it'll pan out for them. I don't know what they see in this. Maybe they don't even care about people buying games anymore on their store. Maybe they just want Game Pass. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
no idea
that
what
might
they're
be.
thinking.
I just think that people are vastly underestimating. Like Sony makes most of its money on selling other people's games, and so does Microsoft. If you're not doing that,
absolutely.
I think that's a big mistake. It goes into the free to play stuff too. Like so
yeah.
if you're
There's no Fortnite on Steam,
right,
though.
but a lot of the stuff is on Steam, and you're buying, and so even where you microtransact will matter. The short way of putting it is you don't sell a console to sell a console. You sell a console to sell games and microtransactions and expansions and loot and all this. That's what you do. And
that's why they would lose money on consoles for so long.
Right. And if you give people a storefront option, even if it's not a popular one and it's only 20% of your users are using it, it's like, well, they're just on your machine for free. In fact, you're probably subsidizing them. This is, I would be surprised if I sat down and explained this to any reasonable person that they wouldn't understand that. So, but it was something that needed to be said because I feel like there was too much excitement, but not enough critical thinking around it, in my opinion. So everyone's got to sort this one out. You know. So
I don't know.
It's illogical.
I don't know how it would work. But also, like you did mention that like their instincts are terrible, and like almost Game Pass itself kind of doesn't work in the way that, you know what I mean. Like they've made decisions that clearly don't work.
Chris, so A then B, A if B then C, right? Like
sure,
they like if Game Pass worked, they wouldn't be selling their games on PlayStation.
100%.
Right. So we know that.
Right. So like, I mean, like it's another one of these, like, how could this work? It's like, I don't know. Maybe they don't give a shit. I don't know. I really have no concept. My assumption is that they're kind of betting maybe on like the local storefront being like the default, because like my assumption is like, okay, Steam is offered on Xbox. Okay, cool. I mean, you could theoretically like install, like if you're savvy enough, and it doesn't really require that much savviness at all, you can install like the Epic Game Store on Steam Deck. I'm pretty sure. Like you can figure out a way to get these other storefronts on your Steam Deck. But there's a pretty good chance that you're just going to go with the Steam store because it's just like it's most convenient. And maybe they're betting on like, well, hey, we can lure people in with the promise of their old libraries on Steam, or just the promise of like this massive functionality. But ultimately, when they go onto the store, they're going to be seeing Game Pass. They're going to be seeing like, you know, Microsoft stuff first, and maybe most people won't even bother. It'll be like a small subset of people like delving into like their old libraries, and maybe on the off chance that something is discounted on Steam, they might get it there. But like maybe there's a gambling game to be played there. I don't know if it's a wise one. It's definitely like a desperation move for sure. And it's definitely like in the space of it's more like they're trying to build a fancy kind of PC than they are trying to build a new Xbox. It almost feels like, but
yeah.
But yeah, I struggle to see how it would make sense to them without playing some weird coy kind of game with how they like where it is on the dashboard and like how easy it is to get to. So like, and Mario's like, hey man, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And what happens if you have two of the same game? Like, what if you have like a game on Steam and then on Xbox? Like, what happens? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's strange.
And like transferring games, like how many games will work that were on Steam before on Xbox and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And then there's the hypothetical too of like, well, damn, you can play God of War on your Xbox. Is like, what does Sony do about that?
Yeah.
Like
maybe Sony just doesn't give a fuck anymore. It's like, I don't know. They're kind of just bleeding out right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Interesting times. We'll see. Still years away, apparently. So
yeah.
I don't know. Chris, I thought this was funny. 2 hours ago, Ubisoft posted, "You can't get any medals for this. Medals don't help me sleep at night, Lambert. Happy 20-year anniversary to Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, launched in March 2005.
That rules. That rules.
Someone said, "Stop it. You abandoned this franchise. Shame on you." Damn.
That is so infuriating. That's like the resistance shit.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, just stop talking about it.
Just stop it. Shut up. Oh my God. You put in the chat here.
Oh man.
What? The nerve of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's rude.
Wow.
It's rude. They're going to like sell you a t-shirt. Maybe that's about it to celebrate.
I really shattered that pen on the ground. I have to clean that up later.
I don't know if there's anything I really need sorted out this week. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that's really bothering me from like a publisher? I don't know. I guess as someone on the outside of this, maybe, and just kind of seeing it passively, like this whole, it's kind of over now already, I guess. But the whole Assassin's Creed discourse about people just going nuts on both sides. Like, just relax, guys. All right, just fucking calm down.
It's so tiresome. What's going on with that guy, Grums guy? I haven't been able to catch up with it. There's like all sorts of new things with him these last few days. Do you know anything about it, Chris?
No, I've been so thankfully disconnected from all.
Oh, good. That's good.
When people were talking about the Assassin's Creed discourse, I was like, I don't know what I can surmise what the discourse would be. But like, I have no idea what it is. I'm genuinely removed.
You like it, you're an idiot. You don't like it, you're an idiot. One of those things.
That feels like it's always
been
just
like,
way.
All right, guys, calm down. Like, is this the hill we're all going to die on? Assassin's Creed Shadows? Just relax.
Yeah, they're
just relax, everybody.
Yeah,
enjoy the game or don't.
This Grums guy, it seems like, I don't know what people are accusing him of, like all sorts of things, but it seems like his arc is finally maybe falling with some people, you know, because like I just think that guy is strange, just in the sense of like how out of line he like, just instead of focusing on some of the weirdness, you can't make everything fit into that. There's so much weird shit going on in the world. Why do you have to make it up? You know, or like try to fit everything into that lens. It's like there's just so much.
Yeah,
it reminds me of like when, because I remember during, like, there was like a time in internet discourse, especially around video games, where like everything was problematic, and people were kind of just looking for any sliver of anything that could be perceived under the right light to be like, oh, that's sexist, or like this is like whatever, you know. And it seems like it's that same kind of thing where like if you look for something in an empty room for long enough, you're going to find it, you know? It's kind of one of those things where like, it's just like, oh, this is this and this is that. It's like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I come at it from the perspective of like, I can't imagine being, I can't imagine being in my late 50s and tweeting like this. You know, that's like Grums is, or like it's my similar contention with Elon, where it's like, I just can't imagine being that rich and caring about I don't get it. Like I think it's fundamentally unwell.
Yeah,
I agree.
You don't need to lie about playing Path of Exile.
Yeah, I
don't need to do that.
Like, brother, you could buy Path of Exile.
Yeah, you can buy grinding gear games. Yeah,
what do you like? Why do you? It's so strange. It's I don't know. I think ultimately, like, and like, I don't mean to psychoanalyze, but it seems like these people just like really want to be liked, and they found a group of people that will like them no matter what, and so that's who they're playing towards, and I think they're afraid to lose that in some sense because it's the one thing that they can't. You can't buy it.
Yeah,
like you can't buy charisma, you can't buy funny, you can't buy like, can't really do it, and so they're just kind of holding on to it. I don't know. It just strikes me as like really strange behavior for people who are otherwise accomplished. Like I don't get it.
I also feel that it's like it's just bad calculus where the more you lean into if you feel like a group of people like you and then you feel like you need to lean into that for them to like you, and then it starts to represent you as disingenuous and even and distorting things and lying about things or whatever, then it just makes you unlikable to many, many more people as opposed to just most people feeling neutral. In other words, I'd rather be liked by a small group of people, disliked by a small group of people, and people have a neutral opinion of me. But like if people hated me to the extent that people hated Grums or Elon, I would reflect on that a little bit. Every once in a while, there's a campaign against the person that's deeply unfair. I think that these are two people, regardless of how you feel about them, that have, I don't want to say earned, but like won't stop and won't be quiet and won't go away for a little while or be normal. And so, and I mean, I've said it before, like I like a lot of the things Elon does, you know, it's SpaceX and all that kind of stuff. I think it's awesome, but like, who cannot see things for what they are? Like sometimes people just become their own worst enemy. And I think that the situation with Grums is just so strange because you didn't need to like go this hard. You could have just focused on the weirdness that exists without having to conflate it with everything that exists and pretending everything is weird. And that's a huge mistake. And then you serve a smaller and smaller audience that way. That's why I just refuse to have like ideological barriers around the company and the things, the people we have on and the things we say from the farthest left to the farthest right and everything in between, within reason, of course. I think that's important because at least it shows and exposes people to a bunch of different ideas. And then I don't ever feel like I have to fit into anything. I can just kind of say whatever I want. And no one's like, what, you know, so that they fell into their own trap. And that Grums guy definitely, what did I say, Chris, a long time ago, right? I said, this is not the right messenger for this, that you're going to regret having a messenger like this at the front of your movement.
Of course. Yeah. It's a terrible, finish your game.
I did say
on a game.
That in and of itself.
Like, that's so that by itself to me is just like, brother, you've been working on this game for like what, like 50 years, it feels like. Finish your game. Wasn't a Kickstarter game? Like, I don't know. It's the whole thing around him is just like, if I were a backer of that game, I'd be furious because I'd be like, what are you doing on Twitter all the fucking time? Yeah. Make the game. It's crazy. He's probably just waiting for AI to be good enough that he could just like prompt it. Just like, look what I've done. I don't know. I made it. I don't know. I don't like him at all.
It's all so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that he lied about us.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Yeah, I mean, he lies about
that's when he caught my ire directly. As opposed to more an indirect. Yeah.
And he gets called out, offered to come on the show, won't do it.
I told people, I was like, you can't even be proud of it because it was so obvious. I'm like, this is not the person you want at the head of your movement. Like, there's something shameless about this, you know?
Shameless.
And inconsistent. Yeah.
Yep.
Also,
Whatever.
just like, I don't know, the way I look at it is like, what movement? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the thing where it's just like, if these games suck and they're like really unbearable, like they won't, like Dustborn isn't, like Dustborn isn't like a million seller. Like that took care of itself. These things take care of themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, I don't even get what the point is.
Yeah, I think that
it's
what you and I said like back in the day where like, I think the movement or whatever it was, like, I agree with you. It should be like more disorganized or decentralized in that where it's like, but like, focusing in on real racism and gender inequality or whatever. And we had the example of that one woman who was basically admitting that they just didn't hire white people or whatever. It's like, I get why you'd be upset about that. Like, and so just focus like a laser. Why does it have to be everything? In fact, I think it's so much more credible when you focus in on specific things and try to, for better or the point of these various movements is to make examples of things that are wrong so that it doesn't happen again. But you can't make everything an example.
Right. Because then what? Nothing is.
Right, exactly.
Everything's an example, then nothing is, and then you just kind of And I think the reason ultimately is that like the real examples don't happen as often or as salaciously enough to make a consistent stream of income talking about.
Right, which
so
is
I think
why,
that's ultimately what it is.
You're absolutely right, Chris, because it's all based on content. And it's why just making content about games and just the game space as it is, the games that are made and the publishers and the economics of it and the labor and whatever, it's a consistent gig. I've been doing it for many, many years, and I don't have to fit into like any specific grouping because I'm not an outrage merchant. Because sometimes there just aren't things to be outraged by. This guy fell into, what do they call it? Being hoisted by your own petard?
Yes, hoisted by your own petard.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Let's hear from the audience.
Petard.
Some sorted out.
Well, that goes into the joke from Veep, like in the first episode where she's like, they were making fun of some dude that like said something wrong. She's like, hoisted by our own retard.
Oh, man.
That's right. What a great show.
All right. This is from Bono Clay. Hey, the other SS. Oh, man. I don't like being the other SS.
Really
I don't
bad,
like that.
We really.
The other SS.
Yeah, the other. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That implies we were the original.
Yeah.
I like to issue a sorted out to company celebrating player counts of retail single player games instead of copies sold. Ubisoft recently, Microsoft generally. It's fine for free to play games because it shows a large community. For single player games, it screams obfuscation. I can't even speak right now, and lacks the point of reference. I get pissed off by this as well. I understand why they do it because it makes them look good. But I like clear data.
Yeah, me too.
And concise data. I like to know and see what it's there and not left guessing. Because, like, what? Death Stranding has
20 million players.
Had 20 million players. Yeah. And, like, how much did that sell? 6 million, 7 million?
Yeah,
maybe?
the players thing I think is bogus
8
too.
million?
I am curious how the game did because I think it, like with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, it's like it seems like there's data that indicates it sold pretty well, but then there's data where it's like, well, why aren't you just saying it then? Like, there'll be like, this is the best selling PSN game day one that we've ever had. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
I saw something else that they were talking about how like it sold really, really well for Assassin's Creed even.
Yeah.
But like I think because that number will inevitably be smaller than player number, they're just going to go with the higher number. You know?
Yeah.
Like even if it did sell like super well, the player number is always going to be higher because of Ubisoft Plus and all these other like various ways to get into it. And so I think that's ultimately why we see that. I think it's annoying too. Like it's 20 million players, and it's like a free to play game or something. It's like, I mean, okay. I mean, they're no doubt they're making a shit ton of money on like microtransactions and stuff. But like, I don't know what that really. I don't know what that means by itself. Because that really just means peak. Like it's not going to be 20 million players every day for the next like 5 months. It's like this is day one, which is always very good.
Yeah.
So
it's weird. We're such an era of MAUs for everything. That's how they measure success. Monthly active users and stuff like that. Player count. But it's never like the hard data. But whenever we get like the next investor thing from them, maybe we'll get hard numbers. I'm not sure. But I am curious. Yeah. Very curious to see how this does. Well, it's not a good sign right now from where they're going, I suppose.
Right. I don't think it matters ultimately. Like,
I don't know if it matters at all.
That's kind of the issue with this game. Is like it could do really, really well. I don't think it would really change the trajectory of the company really all that much. I think a lot of what's happening now with the restructuring and all this stuff has been set in stone since before we even knew how well Assassin's Creed would even do. So
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Dennis M. Sorted out Argonaut Games and any other developer who doesn't include platinum trophies in their games. It's 2025, for Christ's sakes. I was really looking forward to getting the plat for the Croc remaster, only to be denied the experience. It was honestly one of the main reasons I wanted to revisit this subpar game from my childhood. Colin, this has got to speak to you too.
Yeah, people are this. Well, this is a weird one because what they basically seem to have done is have a platinum list without a platinum trophy. So it's actually like twice the is insulting. I brought it up when I saw this coming so I can show you guys here. This is a full list of trophies. So it's not remember old download lists would have like a trophy list, maybe a quarter or a fifth the size, and with no platinum trophy. What people are kind of confused about here is like, well, you did you did the trophy list and then just didn't put a platinum trophy, and it doesn't even make any sense. It's something that's almost never been seen before, outside of like some of these Call of Duty bundled games now that exist under one list on PS5, and the rules are kind of changing. What I've been wondering about this, so I don't know exactly how it works now, but for a long time, and we learned this from Rainbow Six Siege specifically, is that you can change trophies, but they have to be in a specific place that they were in the list. This is the weird place. So Chris might remember, like in Rainbow Six Siege, they reset some of the trophies, and so if you already earned the trophy that was in that slot, you would have just earned the trophy automatically. So even though they changed it, you earned the previous trophy, and so you would just earn that trophy automatically. It would just be there forever. With that said, I don't know if that's the way the system still works, because like we've edited trophy text before and trophy triggers before, but we've never changed the intention of a trophy because they have to pass certification. And that's what makes this so weird, is that during certification, again, I'll remind people, like we got kicked out of certification with Tribreaker, which happens all the time. You get booted out and you have to start again or like you fail certain things and you have to go back. It's really not uncommon. But they were like, this trophy that we had in isn't gameplay contingent. It was like going into a menu and selecting something. And they're like, so you have to change it. And we're like, all right. But then this game got through certification with no platinum trophy. What? Like it doesn't make any sense. So I'm wondering if they can patch it in, and I'm suspecting that they can't because of that ordering trophy list thing that I was telling you about. So sucks. I don't know. I wasn't going to play this game anyway, but I know like that must suck. I mean, because you're doing all of the work for the platinum trophy. That's the point. Is you're getting a platinum trophy without getting it. It's like, annoying.
Think of this. It's like Colin. Final Fantasy Tactics comes back, baby. We get it, remaster. No platinum though. Yeah,
it's great. I mean, that would be great. That won't happen. You know.
I know. Yeah.
But these weird things do happen every once in a while. Mega Man Legacy Collection, when it came out in 2015, didn't have a platinum trophy. That infuriated me when that happened.
Yeah, I was going to say for you, that was probably brutal.
I was like, I wish I said something to them earlier because I think I could have affected it. And I say that because like I'm in the game as like the Moriarty's test or whatever, where it's like one of the skill based things that I designed. So I was in communication with them. And if I had known that, I would have been like, guys, you have to put a platinum trophy. Like it would be so fun to get a platinum trophy in these. What are you doing?
Yeah. Big mistake.
A huge mistake. So instead you got a bronze trophy for beating each game. It's like, oh, cool. Meanwhile, you could have like, if you wanted to get even crazier with it, I mean, they could have gotten crazier with it and given each one a platinum trophy.
Yeah.
So, and I would do things like that. Like they don't get it. They like, it's crazy that people still don't get that there is like a reliable group of tens of thousands of people that will buy your game just sight unseen just because of that. Just a nice basis of people to give you a little bit of income. What don't you get? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many years does this have to go on? Yeah.
There's easily tens of 50s of people who will do it.
Well, if you look at the Croc, like this Croc game is irrelevant, right? Like it's not a big game and it's not even out yet.
Sure, yeah.
And there's 88 posts on the no platinum trophy thing on the message board for Croc on PSN profiles. And another 62 responses for the Legend of Gobos remaster, like just the thread there. That's a lot of people, like for the forum. So it's never a huge amount of people, but it's just strange to me that they don't get it. I want to cater to that enthusiast group personally.
Yeah, it's strange to me that they just didn't do it. You know, like I don't really care about that. Like I look at like, oh, it's 100% completion. In fact, it really bothers me when I have a platinum trophy and then they add something and then like I have a platinum trophy, but then like the number isn't 100%. Like that infuriates me more than this would. Like I don't mind having like, okay, you know, here's your 100% completion. You'll get a platinum trophy, but you get that 100. And that's I think probably because I'm from like that Xbox ecosystem from achievements.
Right.
It's just like just get the bar filled up, like get everything that you can. And so a platinum is really just kind of like almost like a stamp of approval of it's almost redundant in some way. Where it's just like, all right, you've done everything. Now here's a thing for doing everything. It's like it's just like an approval, like the Nintendo seal of approval of like congratulations. But yeah, I get it from the perspective of like the developer. I just don't understand why you would not notice that was missing and just be like, yeah, let's do it. You know?
Yeah,
it can't be that much work to do. You know, especially a platinum. Isn't that just like? I feel like that would be the easiest trophy to implement in some way.
Yeah, it is. You're in the back end. It's literally like on the SDK, it's literally like a checklist.
Yeah.
You type it. I wonder what it would be interesting. I don't think we're allowed to show a lot of the stuff, but it would be cool to be allowed to do that one day. I wonder if Sony, I've been talking to Sony PR a little bit recently about some things, and for the first time in many years, just about some interviews I want to do and stuff. And it would be interesting to present them that idea of like, it would be cool to like get like a guided tour through the SDK and like through the way games are published and certified and all the rest. Why don't you do that? Like, that would be so, like, if I would just do marketing so differently than them, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think I think they underestimate how interesting people find the in the weed shit. And
yeah.
I don't know. So
that
whatever.
stuff.
Maybe one day I'll be able to talk about that more in depth.
Yeah. So Colin's talking to Sony PR. That means PlayStation and Sony are going to buy Sacred Symbols, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what's happening.
They're coming in hot. No, we've after this,
and then I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah.
Cash it out, dude.
No, we got in touch. Because there are some people that we're going to be interviewing in the coming months. We're not going to do the early game access preview event thing. Like, that's not what we're interested in doing. But it was good to talk to them, and like we had a long conversation, me and one of the leads over there that I've known for many, many years. And we're going to talk again next week, actually, about some other stuff. So kind of softening things a little bit between us, which is good, just to be able to pitch them on getting access to some people. There are some stories I want to tell and some people I want to talk to.
Yeah.
And I made that clear. I was just like, I don't, not that you're offering anyway, but it's like, I don't want to be on the preview list. I don't want codes. Like if we can only talk to your people and tell stories with you as gatekeeper, then we have to live with that, you know?
Right.
And so that's what we're doing. So hopefully it'll all work out.
So you heard it here first, guys. An interview with Blasto coming next month.
Right.
Phil Hartman, dude.
Yeah.
Coming back to life.
Well, he's dead, but Blasto very much lives.
Blasto's alive still. That's true.
Blasto's alive in the hearts and minds of tens of people.
Who would you cast as Blasto now?
I don't know
his voice.
Oh my God. I can't even fathom. Like his build is insane. Like,
I don't even know.
I don't remember how he sounded like. I don't remember what he sounded like exactly. I know it was Phil Hartman, but I don't remember the voice that he was using because he always did like
Troy McClure. That's it.
Wasn't it like the last thing?
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. Perfect. Jeez.
Why not?
I have not seen the Last of Us TV show at all.
Oh, really?
But everything I see of it is just people making fun of her.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
You gotta call a spade sometimes. It's just like,
God bless. Give her enough. She's had enough.
She's good. But it is one of those things where it's like, I haven't heard anybody say like, nailed it. Perfect cast. It's never like, no, it was, yeah.
In fact,
usually kind of the response.
Caitlin Devers as Abby would have been better as Ellie, probably. In some way. Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Is Abby not jacked in the show?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, not at all. I think it's weird too.
They made such a big point about that as Abby with her character.
Well, yeah, even I was thinking about this recently, like Abby, the run, like if you encountered a runner and certainly a clicker in The Last of Us, like Ellie and Joel couldn't kill them with their bare hands. You would need like a gun or a plank or something like that. But like Abby would just kill them with her bare hands. So like it is part of the character that she's like kind of. It's why people frankly got the whole thing mixed up with Lev and her as being the trans character, because she's built like a fucking huge buff chick,
tank.
And people are like, oh, so that's the trans character. It's like, nope. There is one, but because you're reading all these rumors out of context, you're making this assumption, fools, and ruining it for everyone, of course, in the process.
Yeah.
Abby is Caitlin Devers, who is like somewhat petite, actually. The thing about Bella Ramsey I was going to say was I really loved her as Mormont or whatever in Lady Mormont.
Game of Thrones.
She was awesome. She was super cool. How she was just like a little girl, but she was like the head of some fiefdom or whatever. And everyone had like this crazy respect for her. It was really neat idea. I don't know what they were thinking really with that casting decision. I don't hate it. I hate it more now because she looks the same. And part of The Last of Us Part 2 is that it takes place, 5 or 6 years after The Last of Us Part 1. So it's kind of, I don't know. I understand people's problems with the casting. The casting is kind of weird all around, but it's good. I still think it's great. Great show.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
That's very good.
I mean, I heard people really like it, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing.
Must be doing something right.
I thought that girl that was an alien Romulus would have been a great Ellie too. Like if she's pretty. Like you watch that movie and it's like it does feel like The Last of Us in some places where it's just like, damn.
That's all about kids, right? That movie is
kind of, yeah. It's like teenagers, sort of.
Goonies, aliens.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. A lot of people. I mean, I don't know how to gauge the response to anything now because everybody's like cynical about everything.
Yeah, totally.
So like I don't know. Like I've heard people really hated it, but like I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
All right, this is from the Who fan. Hello, Brad and his summon bros. I've got to sort it out for collector's editions and disc-based games that don't contain the full game. It seems Indiana Jones and the Great Circles PS5 Collector's Edition comes with the physical disc, but it still requires the game to be downloaded. This seems like the worst of all solutions. Many physical game enthusiasts will be unhappy that the disc doesn't contain the full game, and those who have the digital-only PS5 will be completely left out. Just sell the merchandise separately for the game at a reduced price. That way the digital-only folks can download the game the second it launches, and the physical enthusiasts can buy the disc version. Also, if you're going to bother selling a disc for the game, then put the full game on it, even if it requires multiple discs. Not everyone could be a true Chad like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and have 2 discs, all right? They did it. Not many others will do it.
Is that why the Indiana Jones thing isn't on one disc? I thought it was because it was just not going to be ready.
I don't think that or it just doesn't fit on it. I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't even understand the purpose of owning a disc. For a game you have to put into the machine and then download something for it. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, why are you even buying it?
It feels like they're making fun of you. That's what it feels like.
I know that's
your disc, idiot.
I know it's not unprecedented because I think some Call of Duty games have done this and some others where it's like it really isn't playable without an internet connection to download a huge package file. But you're right. It does seem like kind of insulting in some way. Like obviously people know I'm well on the record of not really understanding the physical media game at this point, but this just seems insulting and pointless. Like something you shouldn't support. I understand why games aren't, he said it himself. It's like, I think games are just are reaching certification and going to press so hot now that it's hard to get these things together, or harder than it used to be when games were finished a lot earlier before they would be sold. So I think that's part of the reason why some of this stuff's happening, like some of this funniness with games with just redeem codes in them and stuff, because they can claim those redeem codes way earlier and then say like this is going to still be the final game will lead to this redeem code or vice versa or whatever. So, but yeah, if you keep buying it, they're not going to change anything. But yeah, I don't understand. Like, so the disc is useless, like totally useless. Yeah. In fact, what's funny about it is that it would be better to buy the digital version, because if you don't have the disc anymore, you won't even have access to any version of the game anymore, as opposed to just downloading the digital version and you just will have it.
Right.
Yeah. I wonder how Dustin feels about this. Is he in shambles?
He's a complete apologist. So physical games apologist.
All right, boys. Time for Keep It Up. The exact opposite started out. Stuff we're pleased with in gaming. Who did we start with last time? Colin? Did we start with you, or was it Chris? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Colin, what about you?
I just want to say keep it up to our audience.
Oh, yeah.
I've been really heartened by
Chris shakes his head.
What? I missed it.
No, it's just what's your favorite thing about me? Like, oh, you're everything
about you.
That's valid.
People we rely on the most.
Yeah.
I've taken a more aggressive stance towards moderating in the kind of environment we want to build here, and have taken the blame for my laissez-faire attitude driving too many people away from some of the insanity that happens in comments and on Discord and on Patreon and all these different places. And I knew that having stricter rules would turn some people off, which I can accept. But I was really heartened by the response, both behind the scenes and on Patreon, to people that were like, no, this is true. This is right. You're doing the right thing. It should be more hospitable. it should be better. We should be better to each other and all the rest. And seeing a noticeable uptick in patrons after we made that announcement was really cool. And people raising their support level is really cool for that as well. And then and the DMs and the messages I've been getting, a lot of them from people just being like, yes, this is awesome. Like, stop catering to the lowest common denominator. And there have been moments in my career where I've had like where my faith in my own audience has been reaffirmed over and over again. And this is another one of those, like, yeah, like they came through, like they get it.
Right.
We're always going to lose like fringe players. In this case, that want to be abusive to people, which we're fine with. But it was cool to see an outpouring saying like, yeah, it's actually worth the fight. It doesn't have to be so acrimonious. People can have different, even radically different opinions and perspectives and still don't get into the mud with them. So shout out to the audience. It was really heartening, and it's been cool to see over the last few days.
Yeah. Just don't be weird, guys. Just be cool.
Yeah.
It's fine if you don't agree with each other. Just be chill. That's all. All right, Chris, anything for you?
Man, it's sparse.
Yeah.
Sparse out there for Keep It Ups, I think.
Everything sucks.
Not that everything's bad. It's just like I can't think of anything particular. Like I guess honestly, lately, and I guess with Atomfall and other things, like I would say kind of honestly, Game Pass is kind of in a pretty good spot right now. There's a lot of good shit coming, and it actually makes sense to subscribe to it for the first time in I think a while. There's a lot of quality stuff coming. And you can't always say that. For Game Pass. So that's really the one thing I've noticed myself engaging with it a lot more than I have even when it was like new and kind of popping, and it was the thing that you would focus on primarily. Like there's some good stuff there. And props to them for figuring that out. I would also there's like an asterisk next to this though, because I really don't know what the fuck Microsoft is doing. Just generally overall, like it kind of feels like it's just completely scattershot. So there's like a little asterisk next to that. Keep it up. But you know what? Props for props are due. Like Claire Obscure is an amazing get, I think. And Atomfall is like surprisingly like really I'm really into it, and I just wasn't expecting
Doom's gonna be on there.
Yep.
Doom's gonna be on. Yeah, I mean it's a good, I don't know how long exactly. Like I think South of Midnight is coming too.
Yeah,
so
I want to check that out.
There's a lot of interesting shit, and props to them for figuring that out.
Yeah.
It's also stuff of a lot of their own. When you include Avowed too, Chris, it's interesting. A lot of it is their own. Finally, like it's coming to fruition, for them.
Yeah.
It gets too little too late, but
it only took an insanely inordinate amount of time, but they figured it out.
They did it.
So props to them. Keep it up.
All right. Depending who you are, this could be a keep it up or sort it out, but my expectations are always extremely low with this. So I'm just going to say keep it up to Final Fantasy 9's 25th anniversary. Can you believe that, Colin? First of all, 25th anniversary.
I fucking kill myself.
Is in July. And they're just kind of promoting it at least, and like releasing some merch and some cool little figures. So I'm happy they're at least doing something with it and getting some acknowledgement. But
the remake must have been originally pitched to go at this point, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Maybe it could still come out this year. I have no idea, or whatever the hell's happening with that game. If it even exists, or whatever state it's in. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see soon, or learn soon, because I would love to stop speculating about it.
There are a lot of things.
Switch 2 at 8 frames per second.
Yeah, dude.
There's a lot of Square Enix stuff.
Exist.
There's a lot of Square Enix stuff that's just missing right now. Like,
yeah.
I know Kingdom Hearts 4, people are confused what's going on with that. Dragon Quest 12 is obviously totally befuddling why they haven't said anything more about that. So yeah, and Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy Tactics Remake. I don't know. There's a lot to be excited about, but I think they can just maybe go away for a little while now until they have something more to say.
I don't know. With that company, I'm used to waiting for 10 years for games to come out when they announce them. So I don't know. Thank God at least Final Fantasy 7 is on a good track, it seems like. A consistent track to come out at a reasonable time. All right, let me see here. What are the odds got? This is from Sean Mason. Hey, Summoners, I have a keep it up for Gunzilla Games for not only bringing Game Informer back, but also rehiring everyone who was laid off when GameStop shut it down last year. I have deep nostalgia for Game Informer and a strong appreciation for both the concept it provided me, or the content, sorry, it provided me over the years, and the talented staff who made it happen. What are some of your favorite Game Informer memories? Best, Sean M. I don't really have Game Informer memories. I think I had it from GameStop, but like I never really read it, so I have no attachment to Game Informer.
Yeah. I had it. I read it all the time. I loved Game Informer. I had so much. I remember there was like, I don't know if it was like a glitch or what, or like maybe somebody subscribe. Like we didn't do a double subscription or anything, like, but I would get 2 magazines.
Oh,
Of the same, like I would get 2 versions of the same thing. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that, but for years, for like I think 3 years, I got like 2 of the same Game Informers every week or every month. I'm sorry, and that was really fun because I basically had one that I could keep preserved and one that I could like fuck with.
mm-hmm.
And so like I remember there were pages in some of these Game Informers that I was like, damn, I love this, and I would just like I would cut it out of that magazine and put it on like I had a wall basically in my bedroom that was just full of like shit that I just thought was cool from just my extra Game Informers that I would just use as like scrap.
Yeah.
And I remember I have a very distinct memory of having to take it down when we moved and being like, damn, this sucks because this is like years. Like it looked so awesome, but I didn't have the forethought to even take a picture of it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was before smartphones.
So wait, this is a game developer that owns Game Informer now?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like the guys that they do a free to play game that's in early access. I can't remember the name of it, but
Off the Grid.
Off the Grid, right? And they are like somehow involved with like NFTs and
Oh, okay. I was like, why would they
Crypto.
buy them?
yeah, I don't know.
Not that I have a problem with it. I'm just, or I don't know.
It's
really
a-
care,
it's-
but
It's a strange
Uh-huh.
arrangement for sure. Like I don't really understand what the hell's going on. I'm happy to see them back though. Like I'm curious
Sure,
about
yeah.
it. Like I think I'm like a little skeptical of like I feel like there's a reason these things kind of went away. And I wonder like how long it'll be before they fall into the similar trap that caused them to shut down in the first place. But for now, it's cool to see them back, and hope to get a couple more issues out of them at least because I resubscribed when they came back this last year, and so I have
okay.
those. I have those new issues.
nice.
It'd be cool to get more.
Yeah,
but-
cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Let's see here. This is from the Uncharted Wolf. What's up, Summoners? Keep it up to Konami for all these collections. The Castlevania, Metal Gear, Turtles, and now recently announced Gradius collections have been phenomenal ways of going back to these classic games with tons of quality of life features. Are there any collections from Konami that you still feel are missing? Currently holding out hope for Silent Hill collection with the fog intact this time. Thanks for all you do. What do you think, Colin? Any Konami things you need still? You're thinking?
No, I mean they've basically there's not very much.
They just did Suikoden also. So
Yes, Suikoden is out. There's just not an incredible amount that they haven't touched upon that are not one-off games. You could
Mhm.
think like Frogger is one that they own that there are multiple games. Bomberman Konami owns. They haven't really done anything like that with. Zone of the Enders. They can do, but
Again, yeah, they did collection for that before.
right on PS3. But they did a Metal Gear collection on PS3 too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Go again.
but really, when you look at it, it's like a lot of the random stuff they have are kind of just one-off games or franchises that have already been touched. And I don't know that there's like going to be much more juice to squeeze out of that apart from maybe, yeah, like some Silent Hill stuff. Maybe you want to go back. And again, they did Zoe, they did Silent Hill collection stuff, Metal Gear collection stuff. So they've already revisited these things previous to this
Yeah.
as well. Right now, I think that they're heavily focused on Pro Evolution Soccer or whatever the fuck they call it now, because
Yeah.
that's like a big free to play thing for them. eFootball.
Yeah. They need to get all the games they haven't touched yet for Castlevania on stuff like the PS2 games and stuff like that. They need a
I would
collection
love
of
that.
stuff like that. 3D
I would love
like
that.
the N64 games. We need that kind of stuff.
There's also the Yu-Gi-Oh games.
Oh,
That's
yeah. Those
not,
are still
that's
really
not their
popular.
IP though. I mean, but they did make those games. So
Yeah.
there
I think they
is
just
there is
came
that.
out with one, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Yu-Gi-Oh!
and they're publishing some. I was poking through the PSN store recently, And Konami's publishing some random anime game this summer. I can't
Trying
remember
to
what it is.
the Bandai field.
Yeah, getting the Bandai Namco loot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Konami's doing a great job with the collections, and yeah, keep going with Castlevania, especially the Turtles collection's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot. They do a really. This is what I was talking about with Astrobot that I think Astrobot missed was like the game celebration that are in these Konami collections is so much better in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. We need Metal Gear Volume 2 also, that collection. Please get Metal Gear Solid 3 or 4 off PS3 only.
Yeah, I think
please.
that's inevitable.
Yeah.
God's sakes. All right. This is from Petri. Hey, Sacred Summoners, I have an appropriate Keep It Up submission as you have invited what I consider the funniest members of LSM. Wow, look at that, you two. Funniest members. So in the spirit, keep it up, funny social media managers for publishers, more specifically Devolver Digital. I'll leave a few of their tweets here. Gonna release a game the exact same day and time as GTA 6. Reminder that the one true path to happiness is buying our games in the Steam Spring Sale. Grab the highest rated Steam demo of all time before it's gone or before someone fact checks that claim. I wish more publishers would take this approach. Serious corporate talk is always boring as fuck. I agree and I also disagree at the same time. I think if you're jokey and snarky all the time, it's less effective. Like, do you remember, Chris, you might remember, or I'm sure you guys all know, like, felt like at a time like every social media fast food thing was snarky as fuck.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it became really fucking annoying real quick. Like Wendy's was beefing, like our burgers aren't frozen, and they would like tag Burger King or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I don't even like because ultimately these are people making like $7 an hour behind a computer. It's not really these like. It would be more interesting in some sense if like their Twitter feed was like the actual heads of these companies.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't, but even that would be like whatever. So like,
no,
I was going to say like, I think what makes, I mean, we talked about it kind of recently. I can't remember on what show, but the Assassin's Creed Grum's Elon thing.
Yeah.
Like what made that so effective, I think, is that they're not that kind of, like they don't tweet that way all the time, if ever. And so the fact that it happened with that account specifically, that's what made it so viral and so weird. But they can't just keep doing that because then it's just like then it's not funny anymore. It's not interesting. It's more of a shtick. It's kind of like the Sonic thing.
Yeah.
Although Sonic, in fairness, was like pretty early to that game.
Sonic was like one of the first ones I knew about it doing it.
Yeah. I'll defer. I'll give them that.
Yeah, of course.
But anybody else who tries that, like I think of them as like, oh, they're trying to do the Sonic thing.
Yeah.
It comes across that way.
Devolver's had that kind of shtick for a while, being like goofy and wacky. So, I mean, it makes total sense to me with them. That's just, I mean, if you've seen one of their showcases or whatever, you know what you're getting.
Right.
So it's fine. But yeah, I don't know. Just when everyone is doing the same thing, it does get boring, I guess.
It's kind of like, and I don't know if you guys remember this. I remember this distinctly when I was a kid, when commercials started to try to like make you laugh on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because of like, I think because of Geico. I remember the Geico commercials being like a big thing when I was a kid because there was like the one commercial that would come on that would be funny. And everything else was like relatively self-serious. Like talk to your doctor about deoxyriboestacline or whatever. You know, it was all like very straightforward. And then there was Geico doing the weird thing. And you'd always be kind of pleasantly surprised to see a Geico commercial because they would be entertaining in some way. And then everybody was like, oh, we got to do that. And then every commercial was just that. To the point where like, I don't know anything about what you're trying to sell me anymore. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I don't know.
I remember that too. Yeah, I totally have reflected on that in the past as well. The best way to illustrate that is to just go watch old game shows or like complete recordings of like this game show from 1991 and just watch the entire thing and nothing's funny. Like, in the commercials. It's nothing.
It's all super serious. It's all like 20%, like 10% APR. Like, it's all just like so matter of fact. And then at some point you hit this transition where everything feels like a Super Bowl commercial. But that's what the Super Bowl commercials are for.
Yeah, it was special.
And now I don't even think about Super Bowl commercials at all because it's just like, it's another one of those.
Yeah.
Those every fucking week.
But I'm glad you enjoy them, Petri. All right, boys. The Last of Us Part 2 No Return. I'm going to read this first. This is from Josh M. Hey, Summoners, I know Colin and Chris aren't always fans of DLC, but I found No Return to be a really solid addition to The Last of Us Part 2, showcasing its gameplay in a setting uncompromised by story whilst trying new things with modifiers, playable characters, and more. Of course, the next big thing, in this case, Intergalactic, is the main thing I'm looking forward to. But additions like No Return, I can't imagine having been a huge lift that'll drastically affect the upcoming game. So I see it as a nice appetizer in here and now. What say you three? So Colin, yes, you've been playing this.
Yeah, I've been playing No Return, just kind of messing around with The Last of Us Part 2 in preparation for the upcoming HBO season, but really just kind of messing around with No Return. And it's cool. I said this on Sacred, so I don't want to be too redundant, but I just dig that Sony seems to have a rhythm of getting things added to single player games that keep them more robust over whether months or years or different iterations of them as they're ported to new consoles. So there's always something fresh in a lot of these games. If you played it right when it came out, there is some reason to go back to it. And whether it's New Game Plus or whatever, The Last of Us Part 2 launched with New Game Plus, which was really cool. But there's the survival mode or whatever, grounded mode, where it's like super hard. There's permadeath mode, which I think is really cool. There are multiple modes within permadeath mode where you can play like straight up raw dog permadeath mode, or you can like do it by chapter and all that kind of stuff, which I think is pretty neat. So I like that kind of stuff. And we've seen this with God of War and with Ghost of Tsushima and so on. So it's nothing new. But what I love about this mode, No Return, is just that it's not really thrown together. There's some logic to it, and it feels a little bit like Factions, like the self-contained, not what would become The Last of Us Online, but the original Factions, which is like just there was some self-contained metagame in it, and you were kind of doing things, and there was some sort of reason why you were doing it, and it's fun. So No Return is a kind of randomly generated roguelike 7 or 8 stage walkthrough of different kind of permutations of encounters at different locations with different rule sets, and you kind of chain them together and try to get through all of them in one run. And if you die, it's over. So you might go to like Jackson, and it's like some randomly permutated map with enemies around it, and you have a few minutes to kill them all to get out of the map. And if you die, you go back to the beginning. But if you go forward, then you get to a next stage, and you might select which path you go to, kind of like Castlevania 3, actually, in some sense. So the game continues, and you're getting to the end, but like, and they'll cross over, but like you'll have to make selections. Sometimes you'll make a selection that will bring you on a path that will force you into the next 2 selections before you get back to the path where you can choose again. And some of them are like more stealthy. Some of them are you're getting attacked. Some of them are human enemies. Some of them are infected enemies. And these runs all end with a boss. And I've still not beaten one of these. I'm playing on normal and hard difficulty, and I'm just not very good. And the game does recommend you have beaten the game recently to have played this part, because it's kind of like high end combat, and I haven't. So that I'm definitely going in at a little bit of a deficit, because I have not played through the game since 2020. There's a safe room that you go to in between all the stages, which is kind of cool too. So you earn supplements and parts just like you would in the regular game. And you also earn a third kind of thing, which is currency, like actual money. And when you go to these different stages and make your selections, you can kind of see what you'll earn and like the risk reward of going to these places and trying to get things. There's also things to do within the stages themselves as you're killing people or surviving, where you can earn more items and more money. For instance, you can like sacrifice your health packs in there'll be like a little repository, like a mailbox, like a dead drop. And if you put like 2 health packs in it, when you get back to your safe house, there'll be like an extra perk, which is kind of neat. And then when you get back to the safe house in between stages, you're basically adapting your character. So you're using your supplements to kind of unlock skills. You're using your parts to upgrade weapons, and then you're using your currency to gain access to a randomly generated set of goods. It could be ammunition and items for crafting. It could be another weapon, and you can actually even spend money to reset the RNG to try again and get a different set of things offered to you. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. Like, people put their mind into this, and it's not like a self-contained game by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly not Factions, but it's it's fun, and it just kind of gets you into the mode of The Last of Us. And what I like about it, I think the most, is that you start with Ellie and Abby. They have different skills and strengths and guns that they use and access to different items. And then as you play through more, you unlock more characters. So I think I recently unlocked Dina, and she has like her own set of things. And then there's this whole other, and this is where it feels a little bit like Factions, where there's this whole meta level of unlocking new perks, new options. You're constantly unlocking things, and even things that you can kind of put in place to make things more difficult or more easy for you, like modifications and stuff. So for people that are just looking to dick around with The Last of Us, it's a good podcast game. It's just good to mess around, get back into that world a little bit, and fun to play around with those characters. And it's just such a shame that we're just not going to get more Last of Us I think we will one day, but not for a long time. And that's too bad. It really is. It really is too bad.
Yeah. I think, didn't they just add like Bill and Marlene to this?
Yeah, I think concurrent to the PC version coming or whatever, I think they're adding, Bill and Marlene and like, so stuff from the first game and new maps and trophies and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Who do you enjoy playing as the most?
I play as Ellie with the characters that I have. So I find that stealth killing is vital in these maps. So for instance, it's like a multiplayer map, really. It's just a circuitous map that you're on by yourself, though. So like you could be in like the lumber yard in the game, and it's just kind of, when you look at it from the top, it's probably like a circle, and there's a bunch of just debris and things everywhere, and you're kind of just slinking around. And if you get into a gunfight, everyone hears you, they come attack you. But if you can do it quietly, there's a reason to do that, and you can do it quicker. But doing it with a gun is quicker, and you get score bonuses and bonuses for headshots and all that, and you get scored up to an S ranking and all of the rest. So there's all these reasons to do things differently. Kind of some panache with a Molotov cocktail, or you didn't heal yourself, or if you complete them really quickly, you get extra points. Like I think it's 5 points per second or something under a certain amount. So like you're trying to rush through it. But I like playing as Ellie because she has the butterfly knife, and so Abby will go behind people and strangle them, and it takes time and it's loud.
Right.
But Abby or Ellie just goes behind and like stabs them in the neck and just drops them, basically. And so for stealth based gameplay, it's just much more usable, but she doesn't have access to like the same level of weaponry, like guns, that Abby does. And so on and so forth. And again, there's far more, like you can unlock Jesse, I think, and a bunch of Tommy, and like I haven't unlocked any of these people, so I don't know what their specific skills are yet, but yeah, I'm gonna keep messing with it. It's fun, and it's getting me amped up for the show, which is just weeks away now. I think it's a week and a half or so from when we're recording.
Very cool. Yeah. It's a cool little mode. Seems like they're kind of experimenting with stuff like that. Sony God of War Valhalla had some roguelike things in it, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you mean Ragnarok?
No, Valhalla, the DLC.
Valhalla.
It was God of War Ragnarok Valhalla.
Right. I see. That was like I see what you're saying. And then Legends was the thing I was thinking about.
Ghost of
Tsushima, yeah. That was cool.
Right.
That was actually really cool.
And
Legends was.
Days Gone is going to have like its whole horde mode thing, which I think is cool because that's the coolest part of the game.
Yeah, they had like a crazy taxi mini game in there, I remember.
What? In Days Gone?
Yeah.
That's the hard
drive around a golf cart.
That's crazy. That actually sounds compelling. Yeah, it's smart of them to kind of double dip. Has like a bad connotation, but like I mean that's ultimately what it is. Like you're just trying to get more value out of your game already, and why not use the assets that you already have and add value?
And I think it was free, a lot of this stuff, so can't really complain. All right, very cool, Colin. So you think you're gonna keep playing it? Try to finish a run? Definitely,
because I'd like to finish more than one run, just because I'm waiting for, I guess, indie at this point. I beat Atomfall, and I would play more Atomfall, like I said earlier, but I really just think it's a better idea for my sanity to just wait for a cleaner roadmap. I don't even need help. I just need to know like what the point of no return is, and then make a save there, and then just go do all the things for the different people, as it makes sense or whatever. So that's the most effective way to do that. So while I wait for that, and by the way, I didn't get a chance to say this, is like, as an ex-guide writer, the game gave me fucking agita. Like I couldn't, I'd be crying if I had to write a guide for that game. It would be so bad. So shout out to whoever figures it out, because I'm not going to be the one that does it. So I wanted to say that, but I'm waiting for indie, and then Claire Obscure, and and then you're into Doom, and then you're getting into like Death Stranding and stuff. So the games are going to start coming out pretty quick. So
Are you going to play Lost Soul Aside?
Yeah, I'll play that too. That's the end of May.
Yeah.
So, and I'm hearing that's a little, more actiony, which is good.
Yeah, it is.
So I definitely want to support that. Yeah. So there's like good stuff. There's going to be a good cadence of things coming. Apparently, Oblivion is. I'm not going to play it, but Oblivion is like maybe imminent, which is weird.
Yeah, that's yeah. The rumors, it's very soon.
That's got to be connected with Switch stuff, right?
Maybe,
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like weird. Just seems like weird timing.
It does seem like weird timing, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, who knows?
I think a lot of stuff happened in the game industry. I'm like, oh, that's got to mean this, and it doesn't mean that
that's
anything. It's just like, okay.
What am I talking about? Cue Insomniac with a tweet about the fucking Chimera.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Yeah. And the rumor is Ghost of Yotei comes out in like July or something like that. So,
oh damn,
be interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
We shall see. All right, Chris. Assassin's Creed Shadows, the game everyone loves to hear everyone talk about. No controversy whatsoever.
Yeah, it's the belle of the ball.
Yeah,
So I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think my PlayStation clock says I'm 45 hours in. No.
Dude, yeah.
No.
Sometimes it happens to me too. I'm like, there's no way it's this much.
No, it's totally nonsensical. The whole thing.
Yeah, I really.
How can they not figure that out, guys? Fix that shit.
You know what's crazy about it is that they know the real number. Like they have the real data because like I think at the end of the year, didn't we?
Yeah, it's in like the thing you get.
Yeah, so like they're just like, we'll figure it out at the end of the year. But I looked at my save; it was about like 15 hours in. So pretty early hours for or for what I would imagine modern day Assassin's Creed is, but a hefty bit of time in.
Mm-hmm.
And I am enjoying it, but I am hitting what I would call kind of the core problem with this version of Assassin's Creed. And I have to say this, I have to get this out of the way early on, is that I haven't played an Assassin's Creed earnestly since Assassin's Creed 3. Okay. So like it's been a long ass time.
You didn't play 4, dude? Damn.
I played a little bit of Black Flag, and then I was like,
wasn't feeling it.
I really, what the thing about it was? Like, I really hated the boat combat in 3.
Oh, okay, then you're out. Yeah.
To have a game entirely, it would be like having a Batman Arkham Batmobile time. You know what I mean? It's just like this does not speak to me really at all. I'm sure that game was great. Like I hear nothing but praise about that game, and I'm sure it's good. I just I really was not feeling it at that time.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's fine.
So I just fell off. I think I dabbled a little bit in Odyssey when it came to like the Xbox Game Pass or PS Plus or something. But I wasn't feeling it. I just didn't care about the setting or whatever. But Assassin's Creed Shadows has a unique kind of pull for me where it's just like, oh, I do like this setting. It is where I always wanted Assassin's Creed to go. So I was naturally just more curious about it. And then when I saw that they were kind of doubling down on some of the stealth stuff because of the split protagonist, they were going to have a character more focused on stealth and one more focused on, brute combat. I thought like, okay, that's interesting. And there's play with like the lights and extinguishing lights so you can't be seen in darkness, which I as a Splinter Cell guy is very appealing.
I'll take back to Splinter Cell.
I'll take my Splinter Cell wherever I can get it, even if it's poorly done in a modern day Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Which I will say the light stuff is pretty disappointing to me. I don't know if it's like I don't really have a sense of when enemies can and can't see me because it isn't really a core mechanic. It does kind of feel like it's just kind of there. Like I'll extinguish a light, but then I'll be like, is the moon high? Like, is it dark enough outside that this makes a difference? Like, and it's kind of hard to gauge. So I've kind of abandoned that entirely, which sucks because that was like one of the big things I was excited about. But so far, I'm enjoying my time with it. I like playing as Naue a lot. Like she's the shinobi.
Mm-hmm.
I think her moveset is awesome. I think her combat is really fun. I do think like even just the skill trees in this game are pretty fun or interesting. Like you get really cool like combat abilities and things like that I think are genuinely satisfying to do. And there is, and I mentioned this when we talked about it on Sacred Symbols briefly, but like there's something about playing as Naue and like running across rooftops at night that like it evokes Tenchu to me often. which is just not something that I feel very often. Like the last time I felt that was like maybe like Sekiro, which I think there's like some story behind that and behind the scenes, but it's nice to have that evocation happening and just being reminded of Tenchu and there's parts of it that I'm like, yeah, man, this is satisfying. I love using the grappling hook and as I always will. I like slinking around in the dark and crawling in the grass. And like it's I love stealth stuff, and the setting is doing it for me. There's some side objectives here that I think are like strangely paced. And what I mean by that is, in Ghost of Tsushima, which you cannot help but compare it to, like there are these like kind of side objectives that are more like, I wouldn't even necessarily call them activities so much as like flavor for the world. It's like you follow a fox to like a hot spring and then you can compose a haiku and that's it, and then you get experience, and it's kind of like a nice serene kind of thing to take a break from like what you're doing in the rest of the game. In this game, not everything is like this, but there are these specific flashback meditation points, right, where you will go to as Naue and you will meditate and you'll do kind of like this pseudo rhythm based game. And then it'll trigger like a flashback, like a linear kind of flashback level, right? Which is kind of neat. But the issue is that like, because it's an open world game, you're going to come across these places at different points. And for some reason, these meditation flashbacks tutorialize you on things that you clearly have been doing for a while. So like, I remember the most comical one, which is like one of the first ones that I found. And it almost made me like, I'm not going to do this at all, was you do the rhythm-based meditation game. And then your flashback, you're pulled into a flashback of younger Naue learning how to do the meditation. And so I was just like, well, what are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. And like, there's little things like that too, where like in the prologue, you learn how to fight and you learn how to parry and all this stuff. And then immediately you have to learn it again because the character hasn't learned it yet. And I really hate that shit. That's really early game stuff. And it speaks to the disjointed level of there's a disjointedness here that I think comes from the split protagonist, and I didn't really feel it until I got to this point where like now I'm finally at a point where I can switch between Yasuke and Naue freely, and it's weird because I think Yasuke as a character, I think his story is genuinely like the more compelling part of this. Because it is like, oh yeah, this must be a wild experience. Like, oh, like this black samurai that everybody can't help but notice. And he's like, right hand of, Lord Nobunaga. Like it's fucking, and the fact that it's like rooted in real kind of Japanese history and mythology. It's like, it's interesting shit. And then you go to Naue and she's just kind of like, I'm a ninja and my family, I need to avenge my family. Huh. And it's like, it's not nearly as compelling, but her gameplay loop is more satisfying because she can do all of the stealth Assassin's Creed acrobatics that I want to be able to do. And Yasuke can't do that.
Right.
And so it's weird. Like, I feel like it's kind of unbalanced. And there's points in the open world where like a lot of the side stuff, you can't even really do as Yasuke. Like, you'll get to a meditation point and you'll be like, oh, I'll tell Naue about this. And it's like I get it, but like, this is...
Yeah. Is there stuff that only he can do in the world, like side stuff?
Not that I've found. I haven't found any.
Okay.
And to be fair, like I'm so disinterested in the side stuff. I've always been disinterested in the side stuff in these open world games. Like especially with Assassin's Creed that I know has a history of being bloated lately. I kind of want to see what the main story is and what's going on. I'll delve into like some side stuff, but I haven't found anything that is locked to Yasuke. As much as I found stuff that's locked to Naue, and it just kind of makes me feel like this was originally supposed to be Naue only, and then they had an idea. I think maybe Ghost of Tsushima maybe spooked them a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, we got to have some differentiating factor here." And to their credit, I do applaud. It is interesting that they're doing this. It is more experimental than I've seen Assassin's Creed go. Like having two distinct protagonists where one embodies like almost nearly all of the traits of Assassin's Creed and one kind of doesn't. But I think that experimentation kind of falls a little bit flat with Yasuke, who I think is genuinely a compelling character, but not nearly as fun to play within the context of an Assassin's Creed. Now, I've heard the argument that like if you've played Assassin's Creed this whole time, you might actually find Yasuke significantly refreshing because he is so brutish and it has, it is a different flavor. But as somebody who took a long break and is coming back to it looking for like more of a stealth thing, Yasuke's perspective is less interesting from a gameplay perspective and more interesting from a story perspective, and Naoe's kind of the opposite. And they handle these story beats kind of strangely. I will say that the English voice acting is horrible. It's damn near laughable, and I don't know what I've heard that if you play it in Japanese, it's like significantly better. But I don't know, man. I want to be able to pay attention. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to necessarily have to read everything. So I'm kind of dealing with it, but it is hindering the experience for me quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. I'm 15 hours in so far. That's the biggest problem that I have with it. I am enjoying my time with it. I think the setting is great. I think Naoe plays really, really great. And I do think it's satisfying, like going into these outposts and doing the Ubisoft thing. Like I haven't done that in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, it's like an old snack that you haven't had in ages that you thought they might have discontinued. It's like, chicken fries are back at Burger King. It's like, great. It's been a while. But yeah, like the disjointed level is kind of, or the disjointedness between two characters is noticeable. And I don't know if I'm really sold on the idea of it yet. But so far,
I'm
still enjoying my time with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good. I'm enjoying it reasonably enough. I can imagine that if you've played a lot of Ubisoft stuff lately, like this wouldn't really move the needle for you at all. But it's vaguely refreshing to me because I haven't stepped into the world of Assassin's Creed in a hilariously long time.
Yeah, and
so it is kind of nice to see things that are like, there's some familiarity here. There's stuff that I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like there's this weird. I really didn't know they were still doing the Animus thing. I thought they kind of just like gave up, but it's still kind of there. Yeah, I know. It's very, very minimal, but it is there. And like, there's like, I don't know. There's like tinges of sci-fi in it that I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm more willing to go along with the Animus as like a meta narrative where like the Animus is me buying the game. And starting the Animus is me starting the game. Like, I would rather that than like have it in the game. Like, I don't know. Like, that stuff's a little bit weird, but it's very
like a real world character, I'm assuming, again, or something like that for certain parts.
No, I don't even understand. Like, it's so minimal as to not even really be there. Like, I've spent maybe a total of maybe 3 minutes of my 15 hours engaging with any Animus level stuff, but it's there, and it kind of makes you feel like, well, why is this? I don't know. It feels very strange. It feels like it's there just because it has to be.
Yeah,
but I don't think anybody would really care if it wasn't. Like it's strange. But yeah, I don't think it's like a knock your socks off kind of game. I don't think it's like this return to form necessarily. But it is different enough and experimental enough that I think there is something here to enjoy. I think the combat is fun. I think clearing out outposts is fun. Stealth gameplay is just very, very underserved. So it does have it just in the general, landscape. And so I think it has that to benefit from people like me who are just really hungry for that kind of experience and don't often get a chance to partake. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's reasonably good. I think
that's cool. Yeah. Have you looked at like the in-game shop? I know there's a lot of drama in there. I think those shops always suck in those games, but like you can buy to reveal the map and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen it when I was perusing the menus just to get a handle on like what the UI was like. And I was like, oh, that's really disgusting to see this. And then I immediately like disengaged with it. And I will say I don't feel as a single player, person for this kind of thing. I don't feel compelled at all to spend anything. Like there's no manipulation happening as far as like I'm concerned. Like I don't feel like, oh man, it would be so much better if I could, unlock this thing from the store. Like I've not felt even a remote pull to do that. So that could be them doing it poorly or them respecting. I really don't know. But I also kind of am not really that person anyway. Like even in like I don't own a single Fortnite skin. I don't I don't really care about that kind of thing anyway.
Mhm.
So
Are there just characters in Fortnite that are Fortnite characters?
Yeah.
That people just play as if they don't have the skins?
yeah, like there's
Well,
like
yeah,
there's a
it
couple of
defaults you.
default there's a
Yeah.
couple of default skins that I think are just like blonde feller
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and
Jonesy.
like a pilot with a helmet. But those are the only ones that I remember. Like everybody else is like, oh, it's Wednesday Addams and she's fighting Spider-Man in fucking Doctor Strange's house. Like I don't know what the fuck is.
There's
going
like
on
a lot of Fortnite only characters as well. They're like only from Fortnite.
Yeah, I remember that
ton.
Banana Man, right? Like
Yeah,
that,
the banana is one of them. Yeah.
that which is it sounds psychotic to say in pleasant conversation.
There's
But
like
yeah,
a whole lot of lore in that shit, Colin. Like a lot.
I
I don't know
You
any of it, but yeah.
you got to read up on the codex entries in Fortnite to get
Yeah,
a handle on
exactly, dude.
what
I'll
is
get on
what
the
is the
website.
Banana Man's history with blonde feller,
Peely? Yeah.
and where does their family feud dating back millennia
Yeah.
start?
Long simmering.
All right. This is from Derek Beek. This one is for Chris in particular. Like you, I am a big fan of the stealth genre, and I'm sad that many of the greats are no longer with us, like Metal Gear and Splinter Cell. So with you playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, how do you feel the stealth sandbox compares to more focused stealth games?
That's a good question. I'll say this: like, there's no comparing an open world stealth game, regardless of how good it. Like even Ghost of Tsushima, like dabbled in stealth. It's like it ain't Metal Gear, it ain't Splinter Cell. These are not Metal Gear Solid 5 level kind of experiences, right? Where like there's an entire like robust way to dispatch everything and move through it. Like it's still very much an open world game, and it is more of like an option. It does feel more fleshed out than your typical Ubisoft fare, because I have played recently, and really I play Far Cry more for the action. Like I stealth maybe a little bit, but it's more about like going in and like blowing shit up. But I played a little bit of Far Cry 6 for about like 20 hours or so or something like that. And what I noticed is that like stealth in that game definitely felt a lot less robust than it does here. Like it does feel like you have more options here in your way to like sneak into places. And I've actually found like some of these outposts, it's almost better. Like there's a central tower in most of these outposts that like it's almost like a gauntlet of combat. And it's almost your first instinct is to kind of clear the map and then go to the tower and like work your way up to get to the loot. And in order to unlock the loot, you have to kill like these like specific samurai in the area. And that's kind of annoying because like I think it's like, well, if I'm stealthy, I should just be able to get in and get the loot and leave
it or whatever.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it kind of forces you into combat in that sense, which is so it's not an ideal stealth sandbox necessarily, but you can crouch in the tall grass and you can like go prone and crawl under buildings, and the grappling hook is really useful, and the kunai knife, like it is there's enough there that I'm not bored of it, and I am enjoying my time with it. And it does feel like, again, because it evokes Tenchu, there is that element of like I almost feel like I'm not even really playing an Assassin's Creed. And I'm into it, but like don't go in expecting Metal Gear Solid 5 levels of flexibility or like a Splinter Cell, like, oh, I'm going to use my camera to see under the door, and then I'm going to, and then I'm going to I'm going to shoot out the lights so they can't see me. Like it's not really that robust, and they did oversell the light angle, because I just haven't seen a reasonable use case for it. Like I go around and extinguish the candle, and I'm like, did that do anything? Like, is this really breaking line of sight for anybody? If it does, the game doesn't do a good job of telegraphing that to you. So I've just found myself kind of avoiding it. It leaves a lot to be desired in that sense, but it's better than what I recall from some of my more recent Ubisoft experiences. Like I would say it's like maybe like a half step or a step up, from what you're expecting. But I wouldn't, don't expect like crazy, man, like you could play this game entirely non-violently and knock everybody out. And no, you gotta kill.
Yeah, it's not that kind of stealth game.
Yeah, and you got to fight. And to be fair to the game too, like I didn't even really talk about this much. The combat is actually pretty good, I think. Like the parry window, I think is very, very generous, which kind of makes it feel it feels a little bit mindless, but it is kind of like, I don't know, it's this kind of game. Like
that's how Assassin's Creed has always been.
Yeah, you're not going in here looking for like a Neo type experience. So like it is satisfying to get the parry and like do like a crazy fucking R2 special, and the animations are really fun. Like there's like a lot of Naoe's weapons I find particularly satisfying. Like she has like this one, like it's almost like a knife with like a
oh, that's like
I don't know what it's called.
Kusuragami or something like that. I don't know. Something like
that. But the way it
Nerd alert.
the way it swings around and does damage. Like it is satisfying to get into combat as Naoe, which again kind of makes Yasuke feel weird because he just kind of feels like almost invulnerable in a lot of these situations. Kind of takes the tension out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good time. I'm enjoying it. I am interested in the story, though the voice acting is doing its best to make me not. But it is a very standard story. Like I don't go in. Like I was kind of hoping that they would lean more into Yasuke, but Yasuke does kind of feel like an afterthought, which is really strange because he is, in my mind, as a player of the game, from a narrative perspective, genuinely like the most interesting. Like I'm more curious about like what this dude's life is like than anybody else, and they don't really do anything with it. It is like the one aspect of it that I think distinguishes it from Ghost of Tsushima, but then the story pivots to a story that is more reminiscent of Ghost of Tsushima. It's like the whole, vengeance thing, and like I don't know, it's whatever. Like it's the story is very very much there as an excuse to move around and fight, and I'm okay with that. It's a solid time.
Yeah,
I think I'll finish it. I think it's
okay.
The stealth stuff is good enough.
It's probably pretty long.
Would depend. Yeah, I'll probably beeline. To be fair, because I'm not doing this meditation stuff just to learn how to use your grappling hook. 40 hours in, like brother, I've been swinging like a psycho for the last 35 hours. I don't need this tutorialization right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, boys. Let's end the show with some questions from the audience. Well, did you say something, Colin?
I said cool.
Whoop. Oh, they said whoop. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah,
no, that's my bad.
He's playing Jenga by himself off screen.
Whoop.
That'd be insane, yeah. But yeah, we end the show with questions from the audience like most of our shows do. And if you want to write into any of our shows, go to patreon.com/lastdaymedia. We always post threads there for all of our shows. So keep an eye out there. I've had people on, I remember someone asked like on the summon sign thread how to write into sacred symbols. And I was like, just wait for the thread, guys.
Yeah. You'll figure it out.
All right. Yeah, you can do it, guys. All right. This is from Roman. Hello, summoning gentlemen. I enjoy everything Last Day Media and was hoping you could take a moment to clarify something. Is it annoying to ask the same question in the Patreon every week? I am mostly talking about sacred symbols, and my question was about why we can't get a web browser on the PlayStation. Please answer my question, or if I deserve it, roast my question. Perhaps a roast segment on Summon Sign is necessary. Love all that you do. All right, so Colin, this guy's writing in every week.
Yeah, I mean, if you write in more than once or twice, or more than, let's say, twice with the same question, I'm just going to start ignoring you, because obviously, maybe once it didn't make it in because it didn't make sense. Twice, obviously, it's probably not the question we want to answer or get into. I'm pretty sure the web browser thing opens up a lot of problems for Sony about giving you access to things that they don't necessarily want you to have access to. And I don't even mean like pornography or anything like that. I mean just like circumventing the use of apps and running things, it's just, but I think there is a browser on PS5, right? Like you can bring one up somehow by going into, I think, yeah. It's
a lot more confusing than it used to be on like the PS3 for sure. But like there is a browser there.
Something lives. I'm pretty sure that's true. Like, so yeah, some things, like some options live on some sort of browser. Like if you're looking at like terms of service or something, and then you can maybe go to other URLs from that browser. That sounds right to me, but I don't know why you'd want a browser on your game console.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why are you like browsing the web?
Looking at porn.
What is this? 1999
on your PlayStation. It seems
isn't that
psychotic.
What a bunch of people did on PS3, like looked at porn on PS3.
Oh yeah, I remember on the PSP. That was a big thing.
Yeah, that was the Gooner device for sure back then. 100%.
That was a fucking problem and a half.
Yeah.
I never understood it either because it's so annoying to use. Like using the joystick as a mouse is like, this is a disgusting experience. Especially now that you have your phone. Like it kind of doesn't make sense to have a browser on a console because there's no.
It's over, dude. It's over.
Yeah, it's that experience. That's a very novel experience that like is kind of.
There's apps for everything now too.
That's true. Yeah, I do lament that like we've lost a lot of like I really do think the 360 and the PS3 were just some of the most impressively feature-rich machines that I've ever seen. And I do lament that we've lost a lot of that functionality, but like a lot of it is kind of just purposeless at this point when there's like the browser to me, like I never cared about losing the browser because I'm just if I need to look something up, I'm going to use my phone that's like 50 times faster and way more convenient and doesn't take up my entire screen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't like Xbox have something like a watch party kind of thing back then?
Yeah,
You
dude,
could
like I'll die on this hill, man. Like the 360 PS3 era was just like that's such a great period. Like you could watch Netflix with like you could have like a Netflix watch party where like you just invite your friends to watch your
crazy.
Netflix with you. It's just like it's so good. It's so good. But it's like, oh no, it's too consumer friendly. That would be too great.
Yeah.
You know?
PS Home, man. The metaverse.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing where it's like we can manufacture light bulbs that never go out. But then we'll never get repeat business.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh great. Perfect.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Great. I love it.
All right. This is from Pair of Shoes, Good Day, the First Berserker, Assassins, Chris Shadows, and Colin Fall. You wake up and find yourself in Def Jam fighting game. Which rapper would you be most afraid to fight? Ludacris with his pinky ring worth $300,000, encountering 50 Cent into club, or maybe Snoop Dogg would drop it like it's hot on your ass. Thanks for all the great content and enjoy your week. All right, Def Jam fighting. I just looked at the roster. There's a lot of people in this game.
There are.
It's
the second one
ridiculous.
especially had a really big roster. The first two, I never played the third one, but the first two were huge when I was in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember these being pretty popular.
And it's so funny to look back because they're basically like modified wrestling games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was like a studio, Aki or AKI or whatever, that made like some N64 wrestling games and became somewhat prominent off of that. And then I think they got into bed with EA for these games. I'm surprised there was a PS3 version in 2007, which I never played, but I am surprised that this idea hasn't come back. Not Def Jam necessarily, but just some sort of crossover rap star game, fighting game. It was surprising when it happened, and it makes so much more sense now. It would probably be so much bigger even than those games were. So it's surprising that those things haven't happened since then. But as far as the fight, I don't know who the hell. There's everyone would beat the shit out of me probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember there was a character that I wish I could remember. He had like I'm blanking on the fucking name, but there was a character that had the most ridiculous special where he would just like, it felt brutal even within the context of the game. My co-hosts on the Snark Tech would know because they played the shit out of it. I'm only like vaguely remembering the feeling that I remember having. So which is like, that's crazy. And that's in this game. But like I remember Busta Rhymes being kind of scary.
Oh yeah, Busta Rhymes.
Yeah,
he's a little
and
weird. Yeah, he's a little crazy.
Yeah, he's that's a terrifying fella right there.
Yeah, especially when he had dreads. He's a little more unhinged then.
Imposing. Exhibit.
Yeah,
Exhibit would scare me because I feel like he would beat me up and then somehow turn it into a business opportunity.
Yeah.
Like he'd be like, oh man, how do I turn? All right, I just beat up Chris. Now we're gonna take a camera crew to his house and turn his house into a car.
Yeah.
It'll be Pimp My House. It'll be great. I love the story. Have you ever read about the stories behind like those Pimp My Ride episodes?
Yes, how it's all
it's
fake
awesome
and shit.
Yeah, like they put like a TV in there and then they shoot it and then they're like, we're taking the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
I remember this one where they put like a PS2 and this guy's like in the backseat of this dude's like fucking Camry or some shit.
That was the coolest thing you can do in the PS1 and PS2 era, was get a PS1 or PS2 in your car.
Yeah, in the backseat.
And I knew a couple guys that did have that I went to high school with, and it was like so unnecessary. It was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, you'd open the trunk and there'd be like a TV in there or something, and then you'd stand behind it and play Gran Turismo. It's like, what are we doing?
You know, I will say like that's really fucking stupid. But there were periods in time that I remember like those guys were the best. Specifically like midnight releases at like I remember being at a GameStop midnight release. It was like an outdoor GameStop, and they just like they had one of those, like the trunk was up and the TV was on, and they were just playing the game that they were there, that we were all there to buy. was like, how'd you get this? This feels illegal. Like, all right. But like, that was some cool shit. So like 1% of the time you were the coolest person ever.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to fight Flavor Flav because I feel like he would bite me and give me like rabies or some shit.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Yeah. He would use his clock powers on you. He would like turn back time.
Dude,
He would make you a baby and then stomp you.
Exactly. Yeah. Like a babality from Mortal Kombat.
Baby. Yeah, exactly. He would make you a zygote and then and then boil you in a stew.
Yeah.
Flavor Flav is he has a very gremlin-esque figure.
Yeah, he's very he's very goblin-esque, like you're saying. Yeah, like he's in Goblin
I first learned about him through through that show that he had.
Flavor of Love.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
That was my introduction to that guy. It was my introduction to a lot of these people too, like Bret Michaels. I learned about through Rock of Love.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, all these fucking 80s guys, dude, doing dating shows. Yeah,
it was awesome,
dude. Like that was my connection to like eras that I wasn't around to experience. It was like this VH1, like I love the 90s or whatever. Like
yeah, dude, those were huge. Yeah,
yeah, and what was it? My favorite was Dustin Diamond on Celebrity Fit Club.
Oh, Celebrity Fit Club was the best.
It was like,
I love Celebrity Fit Club.
You're fucking fat. Dude, Celebrity Fit Club. If I could own like if I could own one show on DVD, like and that would be the only show that it would be Celebrity Fit Club. Specifically that season with Dustin Diamond because he was a menace, and then he died immediately.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I wrote reviews for IGN TV for like a bunch of those shows every week. First of all, it was a fucking joke because it would be, I'm trying to think, it would be something like $100 an episode or something, and I would watch like Hogan Knows Best and My Dear Brady or whatever that song was called, or that show was called, and all like Breaking Bonaducci.
What was the one with Scott Baio?
That was it, Breaking Bonaducci, wasn't it?
No. That's Danny Bonaducci.
Oh,
from the Partridge Family.
Scott Baio. Okay.
I don't know if I remember.
It was like there was like he had like a weird show. It was like everybody loves Scott, but like it wasn't everybody loves. No,
everyone loves Scott.
Let me find it. It's gonna bother the hell out of me.
Yeah, go ahead. So I was in a really lucky position with IGN where I was like, this was like the easiest money I could possibly make. I would just sit there at night and watch this stuff and just bang out reviews. You can find them, I'm sure, still.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. Scott Baio is 45 and single.
Oh yeah, that was after what are the years on that?
That was
if it's after 2007, it wouldn't have been.
It is.
Yeah,
July 15th, 2007. Yeah. Well, it's during the year.
July 15th, 2007. That was my first day at IGN. Or I think it was July 16th was my first day as an editor. So it was literally
that was the first episode date.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was right when I was starting high school. So like it was or like the summer leading into high school. So like I remember it very, very distinctly.
Yeah.
I just remember it sucked. It was like it was the one show that like all my friends who love that trash reality TV, like we're just like, we're not watching. Who the fuck is that? Who is Scott Baio even? To us. You know?
Yeah, to you guys, absolutely. To me,
no
who the fuck's Scott Baio?
What's he from?
Some show.
Scott Baio is
some show.
Happy Days.
No, not Happy Days. Yeah. It wasn't Happy Days. It was like
he was Urkel
something
in Family Matters.
No, he's known. He was Chachi in.
Was he
Happy Days? And then he did Joni Love Chachi. I was like, when you said no, I was like, wait, what? Like that's who he is. Yeah, it's his big role was Chachi in Happy Days.
Yeah.
Okay. Joni Loves Chachi, which was like the spinoff, and then but his big role after that was Charles in Charge.
That's what I was thinking of. Charles in Charge. Yeah.
They should do a new show where it's Scott Baio is 65 and on Newsmax.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's like a Long Island guy too.
Yeah.
Which is
Long Island's very own.
I think he's at Islanders games sometimes.
Long Island's own Scott Baio.
Scott Baio.
Kind of weird. Yeah, but I knew him from. I mean, I love Charles in Charge, but I know him. I was a big Happy Days like nerd because I was actually reading about Happy Days just very recently because it ended right before I was born. Because I remember it just always being on.
Mm-hmm.
It was just always on.
I remember it being on,
and I remember having a concept that I felt like it was older when I was younger. Like I'm like,
because it's like the 50s. In the show,
right? And I thought it was like maybe from the late 60s, early 70s. Like that was the concept I have of it when I was a little kid or like a younger kid. But it's not. It's from like the late 70s and into the mid 80s, which is so weird. It's like, damn.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, that's we're going off on the deep end here.
Yeah.
I do think a good concept leading off of the Def Jam thing. Let's have a sitcom brawler.
That'd be cool.
Okay.
Let's have
Urkel, Growing Pains people.
Yeah, Carl Winslow fighting Kramer. I think I would pay a lot of
Malcolm
money
in the middle in there.
Yeah, exactly. Hal.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Perfect
Oh my god. I could see Hal's moveset immediately, which is awesome.
I could see his moves.
Cousin Larry.
Yeah.
Cousin Larry.
Cousin Larry versus Stephanie Tanner.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. What was the Full House? Uncle Joey? What was
Uncle Joey?
Joe,
Yeah.
it's Uncle Jesse and Joe. Joey.
Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, that was the big thing, was that it wasn't Uncle Joey, it was just Joey.
Yeah, he was just some fucking weird dude. He was like some mentally ill freak who lived in their basement. And he was obsessed with puppets, and no one cared about him.
Yeah,
and like
just losing his mind.
This was the only family that was receptive to him because they just tragically lost their mother in some fucking biking accident or some nonsense. So they were just like, let's get this Joey guy in here to fill the void.
Remember when Jesse and Joey created like their successful marketing firm, when they were like writing jingles for people and stuff like that? Everyone did really well in that show, like for themselves.
Yeah,
there was
because they lived in a 9,000 square foot house in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah, they were never in any semblance of danger.
No,
in that show. That's what I remember. I think I still think of it. There's an episode where like their grandfather dies or whatever, and they break the news to the kids, and the sad music starts playing, and I crack up every single time.
This tragedy of the show, because Full House was like, it was on from 88 or 89 to 95, so that's like right when I was a little kid, right? Like that was like it was totally for me. Is that in 95, the last, and it was on TGIF. It was like a huge show on TGIF.
Yeah, I remember TGIF. Yeah,
and the last episode famously is the episode where Michelle falls off her horse and like it's all fucked up, and then they just never did any other episodes after that. So it's like it's very melancholy and weird how like they never have a finale. It just got canceled.
Wait, did they bring that show back?
Yeah, they did. They did for Netflix, Fuller House.
Well, did they give you context what happened to her then?
I don't know. I only watched. I did watch the trailer, or I'm sorry, the pilot, and then the first episode of the second episode of the first season. And I actually thought the pilot was kind of charming, but then I was like, oh, it's just because it's like the same set and everyone's involved. They got all the guest stars that are familiar.
Nostalgia. It's nostalgia. For sure.
And then I started like watching the second episode, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Yeah. It's not for me anyway. Like, I'm a grown ass man.
I remember the thing that put me off of it was Stephanie was so built.
Oh yeah,
that I was like, I can't watch this. I can't.
They make a joke out of it, I think, in the pilot where she's like pouring out of her dress, basically, and I'm like, whoa, like what?
Yeah,
who is this for? They would have never made a joke like that in the original Full House. It's totally cool if you want to do that, but it would have never happened. You know, like
I just remember being like, that's Stephanie Tanner. I'm not.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't feel comfortable watching this.
Yeah, it's like a relative. You're like, no.
She's like 30 years older than me now, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's all fucked up.
It's just weird. Yeah,
it's why I didn't get into. I never even really tried to watch that when they brought back Boy Meets World or whatever with the Girl Meets World, which was more younger and for girls, obviously. But But I was like, oh, I actually really loved that show when I was a kid, and then I had to learn. I was like, it's not going to work out because
they shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I think generally, like they're doing the same thing with Malcolm in the Middle now. Where I'm just like, I don't know, man.
And they have a fake kid playing one of the sons or whatever.
Yeah, they have a CGI. They're having a CGI. They're doing what
CGI kid.
Yeah, they're gonna have what's the younger kid's name? Dewey.
Dewey. Yeah.
They're gonna have a CGI Dewey the entire time, and it's gonna be like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, where Peter Dinklage was like, that's demeaning.
Make him CGI.
Yeah, make him CGI, which is crazy because that's like. I don't even want to say what that's like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's all too much. All right, let's stop talking about sitcoms.
Yeah, let's go.
Beans has a granny fart fetish, wrote in.
God damn it.
Hey, summoning day to ye handsome summoners. What is your best multiplayer experience you guys can remember? Whether it be local, co-op, or PvP online multiplayer, which game really stood out to you that you have played? I will never forget the days coming home from school to hop on Halo Reach with my online friends, Beans, and just fuck around Forge, making racetracks together. These memories I will cherish for a lifetime. Have a fantastic day, you beautiful bastards, and thank you for the incredible content. Shout out to Beans. All right, relax, dude. Beans fetish. Yeah. All right. Chris, favorite multiplayer experience?
Yeah, I mean, geez. It was so much of my video game time was multiplayer stuff. I think back to like some fonder, simpler times, like Fusion Frenzy with like some friends of mine, and like Crash Team Racing. I remember being like really fun. But there's no question, like the years of adolescence, like in high school and stuff, like those Halo post game lobbies and pre game lobbies they really were everything. Like that was my especially living somewhere like you just couldn't walk around. You needed a car to hang out anywhere, really, and being able to just go home and immediately socialize with people, and immediately kind of get that that pseudo kind of bar experience, and you're just like you're playing a game with your friends and you're talking about. So I remember like talking about. It's so funny, like thinking like I remember just being in like post game, like being like playing Halo in like an Xbox Live party chat and talking about like, yeah, I just broke up with my first girlfriend or whatever, and it's weird.
Shit was
and those
real,
are really
yeah.
those are formative years, and it's nothing will ever feel that carefree ever again, and I'm aware of it. But yeah, for sure, Halo consumed because the thing about it was like you could play that game the way that you were supposed to, but oftentimes people would just go into custom games and just make bullshit. And most of my time, I would imagine, was spent not fighting anybody or not like shooting anything. It was just like, oh, how do we make this tower tumble at the right time? It was a creative and fun game to absorb, and I'm glad I was that age at that time for that game in that space. It was like it felt like one of those. It felt like being like a kid, like a kid around like the NES time, and like how crazy that must have been. It's just like being in high school for like the rise of, online multiplayer and kind of experiencing it in its infancy. It felt like kind of like one of those like Hail Mary kind of things. Like I'm really glad I got to see that.
Yeah, nice.
Colin,
anything for you?
Yeah, I am. I was looking it up to make sure that I could remember exactly how to explain it. I thought this would be something different since we've talked about a lot of other things over the years, but I randomly got really sucked into the Last of Us online or Last of Us factions as we were talking about. And people might remember that the trophies in the game were crazy. And they were like super annoying. It took like 30, 40, 50 hours to do the online trophies. And I did it. And we were talking about the meta story involved in factions. And I don't know if you guys remember that you would either play as like the Raiders or whatever, or as the Fireflies or something, some sort of thing. And then there would be these storylines attached to them where you were kind of collecting survivors in your camp. And you'd have to deal with like a bunch of different dangers. And some of those would be the kind of the missions you were deployed upon. And the faction missions, this is what I was looking up, is that there were certain faction missions that if you failed them, it would start you back at the beginning. And so you would have to get to the end of that thread of 12 weeks in the game. So you'd have to go through however many days that would be. And that was a really intense thing because what you need to do, so the faction missions are like get a certain amount of kills, get a certain amount of headshots, find a certain amount of items, craft a certain amount of things. And what you would do is kind of reverse engineer them by doing the hardest ones early and then the easiest ones later, because if you failed them, then you would have to start back from day one or whatever. And so I remember when I was getting the last trophy for the Hunter or the Fireflies or whatever, like just leaning into the TV, and it was like a really simple one, like just craft a certain amount of items. And so you're going to win that one and you're going to get it. But I remember being like an inch away from my TV in my bedroom in San Francisco, just like doing it because I was like, oh my God, it's actually going to happen. Like I actually And the funniest thing about it is that for me is that I never platinumed The Last of Us on PS3. So I have like the hardest trophies by far. And as I understand, the game is still played online on PS3.
Yeah.
So which is crazy. People must be fucking nuts at it. It must be broken at this point.
Yeah.
But so that's what I came to mind, because I've talked about so many other things at this point that I probably never talked about the intensity of that and how nerve-wracking it was actually for me.
Yeah.
And I think they replicated those trophies in the PS4 version, but the PS5 version of The Last of Us 1 doesn't have those trophies, which is good.
Right. For me, I grew up in the era of like, multiplayer gaming, N64, PS2. I mean, a great time. Of course, like all of us did, but I've played a ton of multiplayer games, but it's hard because there's certain things I like about each memory.
Yeah.
Like I remember in World of Warcraft when it first came out, and like no one knew what was going on in that, and just playing with our friends and figuring it out and ganking people and torturing people so they log off and stuff like that. Just doing really bullying people in the game. It was really fun. Just being able to do shit like that was super funny.
Yeah.
Or playing Final Fantasy 11 for the first time and talking to someone from Japan actually at the same time. It's like just crazy being able to do that kind of shit. So I don't know, man. It's hard for me to think back like just Mario Kart, like Mario Party, like a friend actually getting pissed off and upset at someone in Mario Party.
Oh, dude,
outside of the game is awesome.
It's the best. We used to it wasn't Mario Party, it was Smash Brothers. We were all like kind of serious about it. And I got bullied into submission with Smash Brothers, by the way. Like I became so good at Smash Brothers because like everybody around me just beat the shit out of me. But I remember there was a friend of ours. We would at a certain point in the match, we would just be like, we would all just almost telepathically decide to just gang up on one person.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I remember one time he got so mad that he put down his controller and silently left. Like it was so, and this was like recent. This is like in the last like 5 years that this happened.
That's awesome, dude.
But yeah, I mean, there's a million of these. You know, like I think about Left 4 Dead as a core one
so
too,
good.
because that was the first time that I had played a game. Like that was the first time I remember experiencing like fear, and then immediately busting out laughing. Like and it was like the witch. Like the witch was like really distressing.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I just remember like her beelining at me and like screaming like an authentic scream like over the mic, and everybody started laughing, and then I was cracking up because I was just like, I can't believe I just showed my ass like that. But it was like, I don't know, like that's not an experience I've had since then. Like that introduction to that feeling of like, oh, like I could be scared and have like a great time. Like, I don't know, it was weird. It was interesting.
Those early experiences are always memorable.
Yeah. Shout out to the co-op stuff on 360 and PS3 as well around that time, like Gears and Left 4 Dead and
Big
Portal
time.
2 was pretty fucking iconic as well. Great stuff.
Yeah. All right. This is from Drusif. Hello, Bradwise Gamgee, Christopher Brandybuck, and Colin Ron.
Drusif? Come on.
Drusif?
I know. I just hate it. I hate I hate the whole thing. Dude.
I'm curious about Southern man lore. Is it just one gentlemanly spirit passed through the various hosts, or is it a more monogamous kinship? Do he/they have names in the LSM canon? Does Mike have some spiritual awareness that she can sense his presence before he reveals himself? What does it all mean? I'll hang up and listen.
There's nothing to it really about the Southern man. It's as I explained, he's not racist. He was born in a racist time.
Right.
And he grew up in a racist time. So when he sees Micah and I, he's like, oh, they're in a couple of multiracial relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that nice? You're married to a black woman. And you don't really know like what he really thinks about it, but you think he's kind of on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of who the Southern gentleman is.
Yeah. Like I don't think he has like a son or anything. Like he's just like a kind of like a he's like the embodiment of a concept, I think. I don't think of him as like, oh, my name is Jedediah. You know what I mean? Like he's got no name.
No.
His name is the South.
He is the Southern man.
Mike and I were literally reflecting on where this character even came from recently, and I was like, it comes from me watching like Meet the Press one morning or afternoon. It wouldn't have been a morning on a Sunday, and there was like a mayor from South Carolina on there. And he had like a vaguely Southern kind of thing going on, but it wasn't really that bad. Where he's like, "Oh, we do like to be down here in the South," you know, like that kind of. Right. And I was like, but if you just up it like 20%, it becomes really, really bad. And I was like, it's good. Like you don't really know what he's going to say next. And so, does Micah have some spiritual awareness? I think Micah's sick of the Southern man, to be honest with you. The thing she's getting sick of me doing now. Every once in a while, I do like a really bad Joel impression. Like, why don't we just quit this mess? You know, that kind of thing. And recently what I've been playing, I forgot to say is when I've been playing No Return in The Last of Us Part 2, I've been saying, LA. Like, just LA. like when she's getting chased or whatever. And she's like, dude, please stop.
Yeah.
Like no one's more tired of me than Micah. Trust me.
I don't understand how, like, to me, it's so interesting how close, it almost feels like Adam's barely touching at this point. But like that you're doing that accent and her name is Micah.
Right.
It is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That you're not constantly like, well, damn it, Micah.
I'm not gay, Micah. Why'd you say that?
Why'd you say, dude, we've been working on John Marston, who's so much harder to.
He's way harder.
Dutch.
Yeah.
Dutch.
Yeah, he's got like a scratchy voice.
It's so difficult. It's impossible. The PSN is out.
Yeah.
Like it's from yeah. Well, it is 2011.
Yeah.
So stupid.
All right. This is from Epstein's Flight Sim. Hello.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it is.
Hello, sexy summoned souls. Hope your days are going well. I recently platinum Sonic Frontiers. Am I now autistic?
Yes.
Was I autistic before?
Yes.
Oh, you guys were right on that. Should I get tested?
No.
I'm questioning my own existence and would love some guidance from the sexiest voices on the web. Please, Obi-Wans, you're my only hope. All right, you guys were right away said he's autistic before I even finished.
Yes, and no. Those are the answers to the questions.
Yeah,
Thank you for writing in.
it's the whole Sonic thing. It's like it's very much. You know, it's one of the. I can't think of an exact example right now, but it's one of those like all blanks are blank, but not all blanks are. You know what I mean? Where it's like I think not every autistic person loves Sonic.
No, that's not true.
Right. But I do think every Sonic fan is slightly autistic.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree.
Yeah, my nieces
Slightly,
and nephews
at least.
like Sonic, and I'm concerned. I'm like, oh
Well, how old are they?
no. The oldest one just turned 9.
Oh, well, okay. Well, at that level, I don't really like it. Really, what matters is how deeply it persists into the teens.
Yeah, that's what I got to be really worried about. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
beat it out of them if they
Like, if
start
they-
getting too crazy.
Like if they still got the backpack, they got the Sonic backpack in like I don't even know, like senior year. Then it's like
Yeah, if they ever say you're too slow to me, it's over.
you're too slow.
Yeah, it's over.
Well,
Damn.
I am but a man.
Eh.
Can't run at Mach 10 like you. I don't know what the fuck it is.
It's so stupid.
We're
Weird.
losing it.
Yeah, we're done, dude. We're out of here.
Cooked.
We're
We're
good. We're
cooked.
good.
Time to go.
Yeah, time to go. Colin, Chris, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a nice day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for talking games with me. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.